Hey, welcome back to the Dennis Herrera. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm glad that you are here with me. Let me go ahead and do my final touches. As you guys know, that I have to do those things. Oh, man. I'm not going to lie to you today. I was feeling like a socialist Democrat today. It's just really bad. You guys know what that means. Oh man, what is going on with the leftist people, man? What's going on? I want to try to understand them, and for the lights of me, I just come to the conclusion that mental illness is just spreading in our country, and it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because this is what causes problems. You know, in any nation. And the moment that we don't address it or we just overlook it, it just keeps multiplying. One of the things that I mean, I don't want to start my channel like this, but this is just my thoughts. One of the things that I have noticed from, early 90s here living in the States, it's that there is a lot of entitled people. There was a lot of rebellious people saying, when I grow up, I'm going to let my children do whatever the hell they want. And you have all these culture wars. Salud, my friends. Stay thirsty. We have all these culture wars, and it seems like people don't want to pay attention. Hold on. Let me get into this X account here. See if I get any people on the X account. Let me join my X account with my cell phone here. Let me say hello. Hopefully somebody actually drops a line. Let me see. Welcome, Patriots. There's not that many Patriots on my X account. I will tell you that right now. Very sad. Very sad. Mic drop. uh, Sorry, old joke that we understand here on the Dennis Herrera show. Let's say, all right. Let me get logged into the chats. Let me get logged into the chats here real quick. Logged into the chats. Let me do the. Let's see where is my. Okay, we're gonna go to. There we are. There we are. All right. Let me get on here on the portrait mode. And then that way, okay, let me go ahead and say, Burning 47, good morning. Tanya, how are you? Good afternoon, everybody. I know I said good morning, but that's because I've been up early and I still think it's morning. Jeffrey, good to see you. Thanks for being in here. Yes, I got my notification as well. Magic Man, good to see you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I don't see Robert. I don't see Brian. They're probably tired of all the streaming that they've been watching all day. Hey, gas, the oil barrel is down a couple of bucks. That's good news. I apologize, guys. This so I think I'm overdoing everything that I'm trying to do here. I think I really do. Let's see. Let's go there. No, wrong one. This one. There we go. Unc Andy, how are you? Surviving behind liberal lines. Good day to you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, that's all we got here on both chats. So I got 5,000. 5 people watching my landscape mode, and I got 2,000. Oh wait, that's 27 on the portrait mode. Cleaning my car tools and organizing, going to weld a stand for my Weber grill out of rebar. The legs broke. Hey, man, that's a good project. Have fun. Robbie, stop bragging about the $3.59 a gallon in Texas. That is fantastic, man. That is fantastic. I like to hear that. The family dude says the Netherlands and the building was in good muds, chat. And, of course... everybody's favorite host, Mr. Dennis. I will take that compliment there, Mr. Joker. Oh man. Oh boy. Well, California, my friend. Ray Flores. You know why. You guys know why. I mean, look, what the guy in Texas said here, uh, that is about the price that our oil has to be. I think that people forget the things that happen in our government. But I will remind you a little bit. Who else we got? Kathy. Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Jacobs. For some reason, every time I read that name, my friend, I always want to sing the song. I just can't remember the name. Is my English is very limited when it comes to certain things. Okay, so forgive me for that. But anywho, so here we are. So right now, I saw prices here, just around the same city in Everett, Washington. I saw prices. The highest I saw was 579 from Chevron, and then there was a 539 at a AM/PM. At another AM/PM, it was 519. At a Safeway was a 509 in one location, and it was 519 at another. This is all in the same city, so you know, let's remember what Kamala Harris told us back in the day when we were questioning her about the high prices. And what she said was that prices are higher because the economy is doing good, and also there's a lot of price gouging, meaning that there's people out there that are raising the prices. I would say out of fear, but whatever the reason is, they're price gouging. With that being said, the reason why you're paying more for gas, and it is what it is. I was looking at the CO2s per capita, and we're at number two. We're really up there. But one of the reasons why the gas price is the way it is in your state and your cities, here in Washington State, we have about $1.47, so about $1.50 over the price that it should be. So I think our gas here in Washington State should be around $3.70, somewhere in there, okay? But you guys forget that one of the reasons, why, well, you guys know gas inflation raises prices every year. It has to go up at least 2%. You got to keep it 2% so that people can make profit, okay? But the problem with that is that it's not just the inflation that is raising this. There he is. What's up? There's Brian. I'm missing my big bro, man. Man, you know what? I got this family here, man. You guys are amazing. That's a lot of the people that are members on my channel. They're just temporary members because people have bought them free memberships. But there is those like Brian. Brian has been with me almost as long as Trinity. Which, by the way, I was a little bit nostalgic a little bit earlier because I watched a video from another Hispanic conservative, and he had a caller on the line, and she sounded just like Trinity, and I got a little nostalgic. Love my sis. I pray for her. I hope that she's doing good with what she has to take care of. But anyways, going back to the point of the gas. Shout out to all of you, my family members, patriots, all my veterans, soldiers, all you fantastic, amazing American people. I love y'all. You know what, Brian? Maybe one day I might just send you one just like this. We'll see. We'll see how what happens in the near future. I am hoping for good things to happen. I won't lie. Many times I want to throw the towel. I want to throw that towel. Like I said, I was feeling a little bit socialist Democrat this morning. Not that I wasn't doing anything. I've been busy, but you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want to work. I didn't want to be here today. But the fact that I have you guys makes me want to be here. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys being here. All right, so going back to the gas prices, you have to understand something, that there are there's if you guys don't listen to the hearings, I know they're boring. I know they are freaking boring. A bunch of filibustering for bull crap. They do hundreds of pages of BS. They never really just, hey, here is what it is. Boom, 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 done. 10 pages. Nope, they got to make 1,000 pages, 1,500 pages, stupid stuff. But what it is that every time, they have things like this whole climate change deal, right? We want to cut down on CO2 as if we're God. It's not going to happen. We can cut down very minimum of what we need to survive. And the worst thing is that all of this alternative energy, it's not really doing anything better for the environment. I'll be honest to you. It's not. Okay? If anything, it's probably worse for the environment. Let me tell you why. In order for us to combat CO2, I remember, in science, I took a class where we were working on a greenhouse. And I was told that trees, well, that's what they breathe. We need oxygen. They need carbon monoxide. And I don't know if that's the actual chemical. But you know what I'm talking about. All right. And so I feel like, instead of focusing on trying to find new ways to destroy our country, how about we continue focusing on making our forests better? How about we continue on technology that absorbs more water? How about desalination? Many people say, "Oh my God, it's so expensive." Well, I mean, think about it. What can we do with it? If you really want to, carbon dioxide. Thank you, sir. If you really want to fight, this climate change, you really can't. I'm sorry to tell you, you just can't. You do realize that we're still melting from the last ice age, right? Okay. So with that being said, let me just tell you that history shows me that where there were plenty of oceans, it's now all deserts. And where there were deserts, now we have oceans. And so, our country is changing all the time. And we just got to be able to adapt to it. I don't want to get too far from the point. But going after all of these things, I think that people forget why prices have risen so high, and they forget that gas here, it was 50 cents back in 1989 for me. It was like 45 to 50 cents in 89. And then all of a sudden something very bad happened with the economy. Oh my God, we went to $1.19. Man, we about to lose our marbles. Oh, it's expensive, this and that, and then $2 and $2.17 and so on and so forth. And we had this progressive regulation, taxes and fees and surcharges and all this other stuff that they add to it. And I don't blame Democrats or Republicans who are trying to do the best that they can to make sure that we're able to, be good. But I think that sometimes they get too extreme. I don't know. Let me see if I saved it. There was a man. He was doing such a great job. What is the guy's name? Oh my goodness. The problem is that I'm looking through Facebook. I'm looking through YouTube. I'm looking through the X account. I will play you some CNN, guys. I don't know if it's going to be good, but I want to listen to it. So hopefully you'll stick around with me so that we can listen to it together. Let me see if I can. Mike. We'll wait for you later, Mike.
We've got some newly surfaced.
Hold on, sweetheart. Not yet. Not yet. You guys, you know what? We already talked about this, so let's get rid of this one. Oh, jeez. I'm looking at a picture of this guy who who thinks he's a woman, I guess. Disgusting. I am so sorry. It is just disgusting. I'm sorry, man. I listen. I love gays. That's fine. You know, that's a sexual preference. But these trans people, bro. Come on, man. When are we gonna get real, man? Let me see if I can find this on my history. I really want to point this guy out. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Let me see. I got that one, but that's not the one. Boy, I should have a lot of videos, man. Some of them are just horrible. I don't want to share with you. I hope that I can find it. The worst thing is that I forgot his freaking name. That's why it's hard for me to find. It's not Scott Jennings. I like Scott Jennings. Oh man, you guys heard the exchange about what is his name? Gill, Congressman Gill. He was asking this pro-abortionist what was her favorite method of abortion, and it was just dark and sickening. And she kept trying to avoid the question. Well, that's because she knows how bad it really is. And, it's really pathetic, honestly. Very disgusting. All right. Well, I don't think I'm going to find that. I will tell you this. Jason Martin, my man, in the house. Who else came in? Tanya, Big Sis, good afternoon. I think I say hi to you already. Mr. Mikey and Lone Wolf. God bless you guys. Hey, CO2, man. I don't know, guys. Forget about the numbers, okay? I used to be very good in chemistry, by the way, and then now I just forgot everything. But I think it's CO2 is what it's called, right? CO2. I thought it was carbon monoxide, but whatever. I don't know. I confuse it with the liquid cleaner and then the air. Carbon something. Stop bringing me back to that. I already done talking about it. Mr. The Admiral James Lyons. Admiral James Lyons. We'll go ahead and put a pause on the gas prices so that you guys know why they are a lot higher than they should. Of course, the price is going to be up there because of the commodity thing and the insurance companies and all this other stuff. But just imagine if we are at the amount that we are right now, besides the taxes and regulations from all these bills that they keep passing, they think that they're going to help nature, but they don't. They really don't spend the money on it. They steal it. They waste it. They do something else, and they do all these things to cheat, to stay in power, and they just like money. This is why I don't like career politicians, because they want to become politicians for the money. It's the bottom line. Politicians just want to be in power, and they want to get that money. Think about it. Just going out there and talking a bunch of bullshit. These guys are so incompetent. Sometimes they have a little spark. But for the most part, they're very incompetent at doing their jobs. They get too far left, too far right. They don't know how to freaking fight for the people, and maybe they just don't care. But the point is that they're just there to make their money. There's no terms. Stay in Congress the whole time. No big deal. You know what I'm saying? And that's all they care about. They care about their money. And I, for one, don't give a shit about that. I think that people that get greedy, it's the problem in our government. And unfortunately, it seems like every single politician, man, is like that. I will get into it. I do have. It is called. Let me see. I was looking at it. Where is it? Oh no, I changed the page. I changed my page. I'll tell you why I changed my page. I have so much shit. You have no idea. I got so many things, bro. It is crazy. I'll tell you what. One day, I will have some sort of script arrangement so that I can stay on point. All right, just for you guys. Let's see. Lone Wolf says trees can process both monoxide and dioxide, but CO2 is dioxide. What is the liquid for cleaning your wounds? Your wounds. Wounds. Hey Haley, how are you? No worries, Haley, as long as you are there with us. Oh, Coyotes, welcome, my friend. Good to see you on there. Burning 47. I think I say hi to you already. Maybe, maybe not. Listen, man, I'm just happy that you guys are here with me. I really do. I really am. But nonetheless, here, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and start? People are messaging me on my phone. I appreciate it. I appreciate the message. Thank, thank you so much. I know. I can't really just text everybody right now, but hydrogen peroxide. I'm glad you guys are listening, man. That's right. That's what I was thinking. But carbon monoxide, I thought it was carbon dioxide for some reason. I don't know why it doesn't sound familiar. I mean, they are familiar, but I don't know why I don't think that's the one. Let me see. You know what? I'll just do a freaking quick. Here we go. So I was looking at this, okay? The only reason why I was talking about the CO2, all I know is that it's CO2, all right? And somebody says it's the same thing, but the only reason why I was talking about this is because, and I want you to help me understand this. This is one of the reasons why I don't like, to get into positions where you have to do a lot of reading, and it's just annoying for me. I love reading things that I'm very interested on, but for some reason, when some things they just don't make sense to me. I think I understand, but it doesn't make sense. So let's go ahead and look at this together, okay? Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Let's check this out. Now, there's going to be some commercials in here because of the page, okay? But I want you to look at the per capita CO2 emissions, okay? Now, the one thing that I'm trying to understand is, they are. Well, let me show you the graph so that we can look at it together. Okay. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Let me see as big as I can go. Okay, just so that you guys can see that with me there. Let me move this here. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, here we go. So this is what I'm looking at. Okay. Read a body without organs. Here, look. So here we go. I'm going to show you this graph. Okay. Now it's talking. It says carbon. Oh, there you go. Carbon dioxide. Woo! We figured it out. The emissions from burning fossil fuels and industrial processes. This includes emissions from transport, electricity generation, and heating, but not land use change. Okay? And it says that we are here, the United States of America, we are in purple. Interesting. This is very interesting. So it says 1972. Look how high we were, guys. 1973, and today as of 2024, we are down to 14.20 trillion. I'm assuming those are actually 24 point tons, not trillion, tons. I think that's what the T stands for. This is horrible. If my teacher saw me from chemistry, he would just be like, "You're flunked. You're not going to pass again. You will not graduate high school." But yeah, tons. I think it's measured in tons. But the United States has made a big change all the way down. Look at this. We go from 22.22 tons of carbon dioxide, and now we're down to 14.2. Now, this says emissions per capita. Now, per capita, I believe, is per person, right? So why is China so far down here at 14.2? I don't believe that. I believe China is one of the biggest polluters, okay, in our atmosphere. So, and then India, there is no way, or maybe carbon dioxide is not, as bad as I think it is. I don't know, but I can tell you this. Thank you, Glenn. Listen, but I can tell you this: there is a lot of cities in India where you literally lose 7 years of your life by just breathing the air. And I think about these things. Now the reason why I'm telling you this is because I'm looking into this sort of information because I'm a big believer on drill baby drill. And I'm a big believer that we need to get some refineries. I feel that, you know what, check this out. I think there's got to be some way that we can compromise. I think most of the drilling is private. If I'm wrong, you can tell me that. But I think most of the drilling is private, right? So let's not take away the ownership. But why don't we give them grants so that they can build these refineries so that we can make our own gas, be self-dependent? We don't want to be dependent on oil from across the sea. I really believe that we should be able to be energy independent in all levels. But I believe that spending $5 to $15 billion for refineries for sweet oil that will actually give us our gas, I think is a worthy investment, and I think that they can be granted to private, oil drillers. I really believe that. We do what we can to help out. We give grants out to farmers. I mean, for Pete's sakes, we have been bailing out banks for as long as I can remember. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, so there it is. There is a way to do it, and I believe that this is gonna create a lot of wealth in the future from for the families, for the private drillers, and I think that's okay. And what that will do in the long term, it's going to keep our gas prices check. You know what I'm saying? Even if inflation goes up, our gas prices will be flat rate. At least for a long time. That's just what I'm saying. But again, I could be wrong. This is just me. Scott Byrne, how are you, my friend? I see you, brother. Magic Cat, happy May 1st. Remind me this, side note. Remind me this. Mother's Day is on the 10th, or is it the second Sunday of the month? I believe in Honduras is always the 10th, but here in America, I think it's the second week of the month. Second Sunday of the month, I think is what it is. So here we go. And then we have Canada on second place. This is carbon dioxide per capita, okay? And look at this. A lot of these cities, states, countries, I think these are all countries, not cities. A lot of all these countries, they don't produce jack shit of anything. So I think that's why they have the low numbers. But the Czech Republic was over there at 15, it looked like. And then if I go in here and I say, let me see. If I go in here, I don't want to look per capita, but let me go back and see. Let's see, where was the other? Here we go. This chart I want you to help me with, okay? Help me understand this. Okay, so here is a more realistic number, okay, from what we just saw per capita over there. Now check this out. This is CO2 emissions by country, right? China is at 33%. 33%. That's pretty damn high. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty damn high. And we are at 11.6. I'm going to call it at 11.7, okay? 11.7. Now, there is no way that that India, it's at 7.96. Now, do me a favor. the statistics, sometimes I have a problem kind of putting this points together. But I'll give you one example of why it feels confusing to me. When we talk about crime rate, right? We always talk a crime rate per capita, and there is countries that have less people, giving them a higher percentage of violence and crime. For example, right, you got 10 million people in El Salvador. All of a sudden, because the amount of people that are committing crime, 70,000 to 100,000, gangbangers and, whatever they are, criminals, they are the worst criminal, the worst crime infested country in the world. Number one, they say. But it's only 10 million people. So here in the United States of America, supposedly we're around 350 million, right? So if you have 100,000 people committing crimes in El Salvador, but you actually have 150,000 committing crimes in the United States, the percentage of the crime is going to be less, right? I hope that makes sense. So I want you to help me understand this number, because they still say per capita, right? They say that 13.59% per capita, it's the CO2 emissions, tons that we're emitting into the atmosphere. How does that, is that a legit number? Does anybody know what the hell I'm talking about? I really need your help to understand this. Yes, surviving. I realize that we're still lower, but I want you to tell me that, because there is a lot of places in India where, like I said, you're dying just breathing the air. And the way that I'm looking at it's we have a lot of deforestation. And that's something that, that we have to really continue to fix. I know there's water problems in some states. I really don't know what we really can do to stop, what's happening. Anything that we do is very insignificant. It's not going to change anything. I mean, I'm just telling you that right now. It's just not going to change anything. Okay, so thank you. That's what I'm confused. I thought that India, because they're over 1 billion people. You know what I'm saying? Per capita is still a statistic. It doesn't take into account all the variables. China has a lot of public rails and transportation, so in a way it makes sense. Yeah, I agree. But, I mean, just the numbers, they just doesn't seem to make sense to me that a population of 350 million people, approximately, compared to 1.3 billion people. I mean, I don't know if you know how much difference that is. that's a lot of people, a lot of people. But I mean, again, the industries, right? The industries is what I would, how I thought they would calculate it. I don't think that they would be. I don't think that they would be. That they should count it per person. I don't think it should be per capita. I think it should be for per industry, right? I mean, you got, if you're saying that is because of the the CO2 emissions, from oil, exhaust from cars, and all this other stuff. Maybe I just answered my question right there. If it's cars, but somebody mentioned right now, right, that China has a lot of public rails and things like that. So you can't really say per capita because you can have 50 people in a bus, and so if you're dividing those numbers by the amount of people, even when they're riding the bus, you can't say that is because of the vehicles, etc. But I do know that is a crazy number. Think about this. They are emitting a 13 billion tons. All right? I think that's right. 13,124,727,993 tons of CO2 while we're emitting 4.6 tons. I mean, that's still a lot less. It's like one third of China's pollution, and for some reason, the people here in our country here, I always say this. It's good to have people that have a negative, chaotic opinion, but don't go too far. You know what I mean? Like I try to have a balance. Um, I don't want somebody to go too far right because I need them to have I need them to come back and meet in the middle. So for example, okay, what can we do? What can we really do to help reduce CO2? Okay, there is some regulations that I think is good. I'm going to tell you something. I enjoy not having a black cloud of smoke while I'm walking down the street. I mean, the air is thick. I can feel it when I breathe. Okay, so I appreciate that. So there are some regulations that they should be followed. You know that there is a limit to that. As I said, if we're going to try to find something, what can we do? How about we keep our oceans clean, right? We know in the ocean there is a lot of people that maybe they're just ignorant, they don't understand, they don't care. But I can tell you this: in the deep ocean, there's a lot of coral reefs that nobody takes care of. People just throw garbage in the ocean. A lot of cities in the third world countries specifically, there's a lot of islands that a lot of villages that are just on top of water. Where do you think that the poop and pee and all this other stuff, where do you think that goes? There is no sewage, right? There's no sewers for that water to go into an area to get filtered and get clean, etc. No, it's just you flush the toilet. Maybe you don't even flush. You just have a hole in the house and it just drops down. Whatever the case is, this is dirty. That's very bad pollution, and we're polluting our oceans with garbage. We're polluting our oceans with our own shit, like literally. So I feel that as much as these people want to survive, and they gotta, how do you regulate that? You know what I mean? Like, what can we do? I can tell you this: I have spoken with a lot of people in island places, like in Honduras, the Bay Islands in Honduras. We got one of the biggest reefs in the world, in the Bay Islands of Honduras. And one of the things that we talk about, and there is some people that they love deep they love scuba diving, right? And what they do is they go down there with bags and they pick up garbage, from the bottom of the ocean. They create these little things to make more coral reefs, and for marine life to thrive and survive and multiply. And we're trying to get rid of these invasive species that are just destroying the coral reefs instead of keeping them healthy and making a nice livable habitat for animals. I want you to know that I pay attention to all that stuff. I also know that we have all these problems with with the sewers. As humans, we have to continue to teach everybody, not just our generation from 40 years ago. We got to continue that every single day, every year. Every generation should know how to take care of our oceans. I took my little, he's my little, I guess he's a nephew. I took him to this area here in Everett where all the sewer water goes in, and it goes into this big filtering system. And the filtering system has the chemical balances and all this other stuff. And once it goes through, boom, it goes right back to the city. And I said, you know what's in that water? That's every time you flush a toilet, that's where it comes. And that's where it gets filtered. And in some areas, it doesn't happen that way. And I say, and that's the same water, by the way, that you shower with and you drink with. The same poop water that comes through here, that's the same water that you're drinking at home if you're drinking water off the tap. And he's like, gross. I was like, yeah, well, That's how that works. So, when it comes to that, I feel like, that's something that we can work on, right? We can make recycle, materials, right? We already do it with plastics. We do it with carton, metals, etc. I mean, all these things you have to think about, and so we need those environmentally people to do that work, right? But we also need them to not go too far. There's only so much that we can do. That's the water treatment plant. That's correct. And you know what I'm saying? So I feel like these places need money to go in. I agree with that. We are putting all these extra regulations for cars. To a certain extent, it will help, but it's not going to make a difference in the atmosphere. I'm going to tell you that right now. And, when it comes to gas prices and all these fees and all this green crap that they put on there, it's unnecessary. It is unnecessary because I find that the biggest problem that we have is a spending problem, not a budget problem. It's a spending problem. And how do we know that there is a spending problem? Well, I mean, we talked about this quite a few times on my show, actually. And I told you, when you have a budget, you say, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, and everything is great as long as you have money. Of course, that's the way it works. But what happens when you run out of money? Well, what happens? You either go to work or you do what the socialist Democrats do and steal it from their family members. That's how they do it, So, it's the same thing. So if you get all these taxes collected, where's the money going to? Okay, so you give me the BS that billions is going into the educational system. Now, why is it that our kids are 47% dumber? 47% cannot read at grade level. How is that money helping? One, we talk about the CO2. We are not making a dent in this climate change. You just can't stop it. You just can't stop it. Do we need something to kind of help us breathe better? Sure, of course. Do we need something that can, maybe expand our life expectancy? Absolutely. I am down for that. But we're not going to... Tell me, what is the point of living a longer life if you're just going to stress more by what the government is doing to give you that extra time? At that point, I'm like, I don't want to live that long anymore. I don't want to keep stressing longer. I want to be able to be happy. I want to be able to enjoy, some sort of wealth, some sort of prosperity, peace, love. I want to be able to enjoy that. But what's the point of me living to be 90 years old if by the time that I'm 70, I still have to work full time and my body's just getting worse and worse as I get older? What is the point of retiring by the time I'm 90 years old? Retire for what? I won't be able to go after my grandkids. You know what I'm saying? I won't be able to go out there swimming and, feel like I'm going to be helping my kid. No. I don't know. There's so much stuff in my head, man. People don't understand. But, yeah, I've been looking at this kind of stuff, and some people like it. Some people don't. I understand. But I just want you to know that I do look at some of the stats, statistics that nobody really wants to pay attention to. I was also listening to the debates down in California, and man, just people just don't know when to stop lying. I still want to run for governor in 2028. First week of May is when you can put in your name on the ballot. Takes a lot of money. I am hoping that by the 2 years come by, that I am able to raise over $1 million at least, so that we can go ahead and do a nice campaign. But I also want to make sure that we stay connected to what changes are being made to the laws, taxes, etc. I don't like the idea, and I'm sure that you guys don't either, of property taxes when you buy your house. It is the most ridiculous thing that I have ever heard. Never once in my life did I think that the land of the free and home of the brave, the country where the American dream can be achieved, will be one day wiped out and wiped away by socialist Democrats. You can no longer own outright a luxury boat. You can no longer own your house. You pay for it. You sacrifice 2-3 decades, most people, to own the house. And once you own it, you stop paying taxes on it and you lose it. I'm going to say this. There are people that are on fixed income. And the fixed income, it's about average, I heard it was about $1,976. And you're paying taxes of over $1,200 a month. A month. Is that crazy or what? Think about it. So you're going to pay up to 9% of your property value. Now, your property value can say this. You can say, okay, it's worth $500,000, right? So if you think about it, right, if you do 10%, which is about close, 10%, that's at least $50,000. $50,000 a year. That is crazy. That cannot be right. And let me grab the calculator to give you actual numbers. So we have a $500,000 house. You own it. You pay for it. This is you, okay? $500,000. And you pay $50,000 a year. That cannot be right. Okay, it's got to be less than 50. But let's just divide that by 12 months, because that is how much it is. Guys, it doesn't make sense to me. It can't be. It cannot be that much. It's $4,166. It cannot be. I gotta be wrong. Let me let me check something, because that drives me crazy. That drives me crazy. All right, let me go ahead and get in here. Let me see. Okay, let me see. Let's see. Property tax. Let's see. King County, no. Okay. It has to be annual, right? So it looks like, okay, whew, this is better. Okay, so it says property taxes in Seattle are based on King County rates, with an average levy rate of approximately $991 per $1,000 of assessed value for this year of 2026. Thank you, Barney. And for a home with an assessed value of $760,000, the annual property tax would be roughly $7,530. Oh my God, that's so much better. But still, if you know you're paying this, so let's do that. Let's do the 7530. Divided by 12. I did that wrong. 7530. Okay, divided by 12. Okay, that's about $627 a month. Okay, and you're looking at this $1,976 if you actually qualify to retire and get that money. All right. So you got $1,300 to be able to have a nice living. That sounds good. That's not too bad. But wouldn't it be better to not pay taxes on your property once you own it and pay the taxes and the interest on it? And then the worst thing is this, that $760,000 value, now it's actually going up to $900,000 to $1 million. If you go out and you take a look at the pricing of the houses for sale, in some of the areas you will still find some for 400, 500, 600. But I mean, the houses are just not that good. And if you want to go for a nice house and it's worth over $1 million, well, you better remember that you are going to be paying every single month for that house. And that will be the price of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I will look at it. And, when you look at rich people paying their taxes, they pay more than we do. Automatically. Over 70% of the taxes of this country collects has been paid by millionaires, and the rest by how many millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people don't even pay 30% of the taxes collected. So I have a big problem with property taxes. I think that if you work 30 years to pay off a house, you shouldn't have to pay property taxes. You should be able to keep those $627 to yourself. And the worst thing is that the government is going to assess your property value at a higher number so that they can tax more money out of you. And I don't like that idea. Okay? So with that being said, here in Washington State, Robert, how are you, big bro? I see you. I'm not ignoring you. With that being said, oh man, I was freaking out when it was like what, $4,000 a month. That's crazy. That would have been crazy. Okay, it's not too bad, but nonetheless, it's still a tax that you will never be able to pay. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and close that window there. Now, check this out. I'm going to share another web page here with you guys. Check this out. So we are. The Socialist Democrats, they're not stupid. I couldn't find, maybe you guys can help me with this. Can you guys tell me, at least here in Washington State, can you guys help me search? Let me see how much money has been won. Let me put it in here myself. How much money has been won from Washington lottery? I don't know if he's going to give me a number. All right. Okay, so here we go. Watch this. Let's watch it just for shits and giggles. So I don't know if you guys can read that. Let me see. Once it shows on my phone, I'll be able to see if your mobile device has got it. Okay, but I want you to look at this. I know it doesn't sound like much, but I'm going to tell you, I have seen the Mega Millions at 2 point something billion in a month. Thank you, Tony. You know what I mean? It is like, I've seen these billions. I always see 600, 500 million, and that's only for like within a week. So this is what it says. It says, since 1982, Washington's lottery has awarded over $8.4 billion in prizes to winners across the state. Within just the last year, over $550 million in prizes was awarded, including major wins like the $754.6 million Powerball jackpot in 2023. Total winnings in the most recent fiscal year exceeded $618 million. Now, I want you to understand this, that what it's talking about is the taxes that they are collected, they don't mention that, okay? So the taxes from the lotto, from Washington State Lotto, they actually go to the federal government because there is no income tax, or at least there wasn't, okay? So they go up to, I believe it's like up to 37%. Let me see if that's the one. Okay, here, yeah, we'll get to it. Okay, so that's the numbers that we have. Total time prizes for $8.4 billion. For some reason, that number, it just doesn't sound right. I don't know. Man, I thought it was more than that, to be honest. I'll be honest. I thought it was more than that. Because I see hundreds of millions of dollars every single week. And that's just from the regular Washington State Lottery. That's not the Powerball. That's not the Mega Millions. Who knows? Maybe Mega Millions is for the whole country. I don't know. I don't gamble much with lottery. Okay, but here in Washington State, we have no taxes, no income tax. So it says Washington State does not impose a state income tax on lottery winnings. However, the federal taxes are mandatory. The IRS requires 24% withholding on prices over $5,000. Additionally, winners are liable for a federal marginal rate up to 37%, and local taxes may apply. Washington's lottery reports prices over 600 to the IRS. Let's see. So here's the thing: 24 to 37% mandatory taxes for federal. Now, Washington has no state income tax yet, so no state tax is withheld from winnings. Which, by the way, they are trying to pass it, and it's 10%. Okay, so they're trying to get 10% of that chunk. You know what I'm saying? They're not stupid. Now it says while local taxes, while not explicitly for the state lottery, local jurisdictions can tax gambling receipts with over $29 million reported for the fiscal year ending June 30th since 2018. I think, I didn't think it was that much, actually. I thought it was a lot more than that, but this is the problem that I have when you're sharing stats, like you have this idea of what you think things are, and those stats don't match what I see. You see it on the billboards, right? Hundreds of millions of, how is it just 5.8 billion? There is no way. There has been winners that have won $3 billion. And of course, they get the taxes for the government. I get it. And then they pay less. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think somebody's messing with the numbers. Now, with that being said, speaking of numbers, now for all my patriots, don't get mad at me, but I think it's time to listen to some CNN news from my favorite guy. This guy is fantastic with numbers. We will pause and talk about these numbers as we go along. But I want you to hang in there with me, okay? Now, this is for Trump voters. 2024 versus 2026. All right, we talked about oil, gas prices, CO2 emissions. We talk about gambling money, taxes on gambling money. I'm not very convinced with the statistics. But now we're going to listen to some polling, which I don't I don't believe either, but but before we do, let me get a refill. Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for the coffee. Appreciate you. Now, I don't know who it is, but whoever it is, thank you for the PayPal donations. I appreciate that. You guys are fantastic. It does help a lot, okay? It helps more than hearing YouTube. But nonetheless, I don't want to discourage you from your giving. Oh, it's a good coffee. I made some good coffee this morning. The right ratio for the right amount of water. Big corporations don't care about the environment, says Manuel. That's true. But here is what I want. I want people to be balanced. It's okay to question things, but just don't go too far left. You know what I'm saying? And don't go too far right. Let's all come together and meet in the middle and see what we can create together instead of fighting with the left or the right. As you guys saw my introductory video, hopefully, right? If you're going to be in here insulting the chat or myself, you will be kicked and banned. It's very simple, okay? But if you want to have a conversation, have a conversation. This is what this channel is about as well. I will open up the lines. So don't panic. Don't panic. Right in the middle. You heard that, right? Yeah, sometimes I can't hide it, bro. Sometimes my accent gets the best out of me. But you know what? That is how I used to talk within the first maybe 1 year or 2 years of being here in this country. My accent was very noticeable. I wish that I would have had the technology that we have today, and I would have loved to have heard myself recording myself speaking English, like on a blog or a podcast or whatever, and then hearing my English today, 30 years later. You know what I mean? I think it would have been awesome. It would have been fantastic. Um Guero says he's worked on his anger for years. It's not easy. It's not easy. And the older you get, the worse it gets, to be honest. So today is Friday. Happy Friday. I put my nice guy cowboy hat. I might have to wear it more often so that I can stay nice to people that are very, very big jerks when they come into my channel. But here we go. Without further ado, CNN. Hey, hang in there with me, will you? Let's take a listen. Listen. You gotta be able to listen to the other side. Besides, I like this guy. I like his energy. You know what I'm saying? I like this. I don't care if he works for CNN. He's fantastic. Even when he speaks against us in numbers, he's a numbers guy. He don't care. Here we go. Enjoy it.
Hey there, I'm Harry Enton, and today we're counting down the top 8 groups that are still holding strong for Trump's GOP, and we're going to do so using pure data, baby. And at the end, we're going to have a little bit of bonus for you. But without further ado, let's start off with group number 8. We are talking about white evangelicals. Of course, they are a very important part of the GOP coalition. And take a look at their choice for the election back in October of 2024 when it was Harris versus Trump. Trump is getting 71% of their vote, according to a Fox News poll back in October of 2024. And look at where we are now. We're talking about the 2026 race for Congress. Republicans getting a very similar share. We're talking about 69% of the vote among white evangelicals. So very similar to what we saw back in 2024. But it doesn't just end there, baby. What we're talking about as well, when we're talking about the core GOP groups, how about those who self-identify as Republicans, baby? Look at this. I mean, this is support. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about 92%. That is the share of the vote that House Republicans are getting right now among GOP voters. That's basically the same, baby. That's basically the same as Trump was getting back in October of 2024 when he was getting 94%. This is well within the margin of error. The bottom line is this: for all that talk about Republicans abandoning Trump and abandoning the GOP, it simply put does not hold when you match up the GOP's running for the House against the Democrats running for the House of Representatives. Now, another group that I just think is so interesting, because this is a group that is actually going Democratic. But what we saw was Democrats did very poorly, at least historically speaking, among black voters back in 2024. Kamala Harris was leading amongst them in October of 2024 by 59 points. And guess what? Although Democrats are winning them, but it's only by a slightly wider margin, 62 points compared to Kamala Harris back in October of 2024. So what we're essentially seeing is Democrats did historically poorly, for the worst in a generation among black voters back in 2024, and it does not seem like they're recovering all that much ground. So this is the 6th group that we're looking at. What about group number 5? I feel like Casey Case. And coming in at number 5, what are we talking about? How about white women? This is a very key group. This is a swing vote. And take a look at the choice for the election among white women. In October of 2024, Trump was getting 51% of that vote. Look at this. White women basically are staying the same. There hasn't been much of a shift at this point in terms of the vote for Congress. Look at this. House Republicans getting 49% of that vote. Again, this is well within the margin of error. Very little movement. When you can count it on one hand, you know it's little movement. 1, 2, maybe the slightest bit towards the Dems, but Republicans still very much in the game with white women, who, of course, are such an important part of the electorate. So this is group number 5. What about group number 4? All right. How about voters making above $50,000 income? This is a very important group in the electorate. This is the majority of voters in the electorate. Take a look here. You thought 2 points was a lot of movement? How about 1 point in terms of movement? Back in October of 2024, Donald Trump was getting 51% of the vote. Today, look at this. House Republicans, basically the same. Basically the same. We're talking about 50%. And of course, income and class has become such a big dividing line in our politics these days. And when you see Republicans holding strong with this group, those making above $50,000 in income, and they, of course, make up the vast majority of voters, this is why Republicans are still very much in the game when it comes to the congressional elections come 2026. Now, this is group number 5. What about group number 4? Well, when we're talking about the majority of voters, for all of the talk, oftentimes we break it down. We look at black voters, we look at Hispanic voters, but white voters still make up the clear majority of voters in the electorate. And what we see here is Republicans are winning among white voters. They're winning among white voters. They're winning by 11 points when it comes to the 2026 race for Congress. Now, Trump won them by 15, or was leading amongst them by 15 back in 2024. But 11, 15, this is the type of movement that is really sort of emblematic of what we're seeing. Maybe Democrats doing slightly better, but overall Republicans are more than holding their own when it comes to a group that makes up the clear majority of voters. Okay, this is group number 3. Well, let's enter into group number 2. Group number 2, this is so important. What about age? What about age? Older voters. All the time we talk, the youth. Ooh, la, 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 la. We all care about what's new and fresh, but what's been there for a while is a stable voting bloc. Older voters are what ultimately, or almost ultimately, always determine elections. So take a look at those among age 45 and older. In November...
Now I want to point out that, I was thinking about this, right? And that there is generations, every generation has people that complain about everything. There's every generation has that. But what people missed out is that the generations today, when they look at history and all the complaining and all these things that happen in our history, they don't realize that the reason why things have turned out to be the way that they are today is mainly, that hasn't gotten that bad, is mainly because of the people that are older, that have gone through certain generations, that have used common sense. Unfortunately, a lot of no common sense having people have multiplied more than those who have common sense. And you have people turning 18 for the first time, never heard anything about history, never heard anything about how the economy works, never heard anything about how the taxes hurt you, never heard of anything on how to get a good career or a trade, nothing. They are dumber today. Now, when I say dumber, it's educational system failure dumber, because they're not stupid. They're just held back by the educational system. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. I come from Honduras. When I was in 3rd grade, I learned things that when I came to this country in 7th grade, they were verily learning those things that I learned in 3rd grade in a third world country. And education has just gotten worse from there. So it is our job, it is our responsibility to continue to give information out there to help this new generation that we have understand. Like, for example, this whole thing that we're living in New York over there with Mandani. The guy is a liar. He's a communist. If you talk to this new generation what a communist is, they think is winning the lottery. They don't know. They don't know. And so we have to continue teaching and telling them, hey, this is how the world works. Show me you got this. What's really crazy is not in my lifetime did I see anybody on welfare. Listen, not that it's bad. I think welfare is a great thing. It's just being abused right now. Well, it's been abused for decades. But, never in my life would I ever thought that somebody on welfare can have more money than me, can dress better than me. I mean, they have the latest iPhones. You remember back in the 90s? Man, you're lucky if you get any assistance for some local making cell phones. And that was even rare. It was just house calls, I think it was. House phones is what it was. You get the bare minimum. And then in the 2000s, early 2000s, they were giving out some help with some internet when the internet came out. And I mean, the whole thing is like people abuse it. And today, that's what we're seeing on the polls. This is the people that are voting. People that don't have common sense. They don't use critical thinking when they make decisions. I can't believe how many adults I have met in my life that always vote emotionally, or they vote because they're loyal to a party. They never try to see what's better for a country. They don't care if the country goes down the drain. You know why? Because this political socialist Democrat people, they use guilt to destroy your personality. If you're a good person, you have a great personality, meaning that you're positive, you believe in good morals, and you're self-driven, etc. These guys will make you feel guilty of being rewarded for the hard work and investment and sacrifices that you make. How many people that have call into my channel and say, "Oh, you're a traitor to your people"? No, my people are Americans that follow the law and that love this country. But they say it in a sense that they want me to support criminals, and I'm not going to do that. I just never will do that. And so they pick a thing to make you feel guilty about. And then I get migrants that are now legal that used to be illegal. Well, here's Güero. Güero is married to a Mexican that was illegal back then. Now is legal, but they still have family members that, are illegal, and they have a hard time saying yes to ICE. They have a hard time saying yes to legal immigration. They have a hard time because they have somebody that is in that category. They're selfish. You can't be selfish. You got to make common sense decisions. Being emotional, that is never going to give you the right answer. With that being said, there is also people that have somebody's gay in their family. Well, you got to feel guilty, and all of a sudden, you got to accept them. And not just that, but everything else that is bad, you have to accept it. And they use guilt to force you to accept it. Nobody cares about transgender. Well, now is the thing to do. Now the schooling system has transgender classes. That is ridiculous. No, they put political things out there. They put the LGBT, the rainbow flag, with the American flag and the state flag. They go out there and they put the BLM flag bigger than the American flag and the Washington state flag. Here is what they do. And that's crazy. So we unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the voters. And hopefully, these kids that we're getting today are a lot better than the ones before. I'm going to go ahead and close this with this. I went to McDonald's yesterday. I went there with my wife. And these two kids, teenagers, they walk into the McDonald's and one of them says, "Hey, can you please help us? These bullies, they're trying to beat us up." And I said, "Why?" "Hey, they're just jerks. They're picking on us." And I'm watching them, right? I'm like, okay. Tall, skinny black guy? Okay. Short, skinny white dude? Okay. All right. I said, yeah, no worries. Sit behind me. Don't worry about it. And then the two guys that come in, they're looking for them. You can tell they're looking for them. And they look at me and they just smile. And then they go and sit at another table across from them. And I saw these guys. In all honesty, they were smaller in size. And I thought to myself, go outside and duke it out. And here's the problem. Now, listen to me, please. Here is the problem. The kid that I said sit next to me, right behind me, just imagine the booths. They just sat on the booth next to us. I said, just stay here and you're safe. Because I'm thinking, I will beat somebody up to protect somebody innocent. And here's the thing. The guys came in, and the first ones that came in, oh, those are the guys, they're threatening us and they want to beat us, they're bullies. And the guys came in, no, we're not. But he over here slapped my friend. And so we want to talk with them. You know, if they want to fight, we can fight. And I said, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that here. Especially not in front of me. And as I'm eating my burger, I hear this smack, like a hand smack, okay? And he says, ow, why you hit me? Let me tell you this. Let me just summarize it for you right now. The two teenagers that came in saying that they were being bullied and this and that, liars. They played the victim and they lied. They lied to me. They played the victim and they lied to me that these guys were being bullies. The black friend, he just grabbed his forehead and he's like, shook his head. And I said, did you just slap yourself? And the kid lies to me again and he says, no, he hit me with the letters. I said, let me see the letters. There was none. The point that I'm making is there is a mental illness. There is an indoctrination of victimhood. And the reason why our teenagers today continue to practice this victimhood is because they learn to play victims. You know how they learn? It works. It works. Every time Rashida Tlaib gets confronted about something, the first thing she says, oh, it's because I am a Palestinian. No, bitch, it's because you're lying. That's why. That's the problem. But they always go and say, oh, you're racist, you're a bigot. They'll lie to you. And they will play this victim over and over and over again. And I sat there with these two teenagers where I was defending. And you know what? They left to the other side of the restaurant, and I walked over there to them. And I said, what's going on, man? I said, don't bullshit me. And then the guy started talking to me. He's like, I was walking here with my boy here, and the guy that says that we hit him, he slapped him for no reason. They bumped us, and then he turned around and slapped them for no reason. And the guy, I believed him because the guy hit himself. He slapped himself right behind me. He was lying. You know who that reminds me of? Of the protesters on the street. That is exactly who they are. That is exactly how they act. They play the victim so they don't get in trouble, and then they go and get you emotionally involved so they don't get in trouble. But they are the bad actors. Let's not make a mistake about that. And I told the kid that was lying, I said, don't ever lie. If you're picking a fight, well, then duke it out. You know what? The guys left, right? They went to order the food. And the guy that came and said that these guys were trying to beat them up, he says, F you, mofo. Yeah. Cusses him out loud. And I looked at him. I said, do you want your ass kicked? You came in here and you told me that these guys were bullying you, but you're the one yelling at them. What are you doing? If you don't want to have a fight, shut the hell up. And by the way, I was wearing my shut the hell up hat. But hey, that is how the leftist, socialist, Democrats work today. Okay? That is exactly who they are. So I'm telling you right now, don't ever let anybody play the victim card on you. Don't do that. They will say that you're racist because you're telling the truth. They tell me I'm a traitor because what? Because I protect the law. Think about this. They tell me I'm a traitor because I'm a law-abiding. Shout out to the bad actors. Thanks, Jason. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, what are we doing? I'm saying this, just like some of you people in here are saying. Educate your children, will you? I know you do, but unfortunately, I have seen so many parents that don't educate their children. You can see their attitude at the stores. You can see their attitude when you're picking them up from school. These are that generation that says, when I grow up, I will let my kids do whatever the hell they want. And guess what? Those kids are now of voting age. And they don't know what the hell is going on in the world. And yet, there they are voting. One way or another, man, we got to continue telling the truth, because if we stopped, we're going to be screwed. All right, let's continue with the numbers.
2024, what do we see? We saw Trump winning that vote by 6 points. Look at where we are now. Republicans are still winning this huge chunk of voters. And of course, in midterm elections, older voters actually make up an even larger percentage of the electorate than they do in presidential elections. And what we see here is Republicans ahead by 3 points. Again, this is well within any margin of error. Republicans holding strong, holding their own amongst a group of voters that will make up the clear majority of voters come November. But without further ado, we've counted down 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and coming in at number 1, what about seniors? Choice among seniors. Look at this. In October of 2024, Donald Trump was getting 49% of the senior vote. That is age 65 and older. What are we talking about now? Well, we're talking about, get this. You thought 1 point was a lot of movement? You thought 2 points was a lot of movement? Of course, I'm just kidding. It's very little movement. 0 points. That's no movement at all, baby. That's no movement at all. What we're seeing right here is House Republicans holding their own amongst a very key group in the electorate, who of course will make up an even larger share come this November than they did 2 Novembers ago back in 2024. Now, this is my countdown from 8 to 1. But what about the bonus? I was promised you a bonus. We're going to talk bonus, baby. We're going to talk bonus.
Let's do it.
You know, immigration. Immigration, of course, such an important part of the Donald Trump message back in 2024, 2020, 2016. The GOP lead on immigration for all of the actions that have occurred over the last year and change of the Trump administration. Look at this. Back in February of 2023, before Trump got into office, Republicans held a 10-point lead on which party was more trusted in immigration. Last year in July, it was 6 points. Now, get this. It's 8 points. It's 8 points according to Fox News. There's simply been no real movement here. Republicans are holding on a key issue for them. And therefore, it should not be much of a surprise that Donald Trump is very much holding on when it comes to border security. Look at this.
It's people like him that CNN still has people following. I believe it. Scott Jennings obviously is a big guy in there. You know, but this guy right here, I love this guy's energy. Even when he doesn't agree with the party, he still has that tremendous positive energy. And he really believes what he gives out. So I appreciate him for doing that.
Trump's approval rating on border security, approve of Trump on border security. You know, a little bit over a year ago, he was at 56%. Look at where he is now. He's at 53%. Still the clear majority of Americans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing when it comes to border security. So we've ranked the list. We've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but in the reverse order. We've given you 2 little bonus things going on here. So I think the real question here is, what do you want to hear from me next? Leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll keep our eye on all of these.
You're a badass. That's what I think. I think you're a badass. Fantastic. And of course, I am even more happy, or I'm happier, because those numbers reflect what we already know, what we believe. And I believe that we have more patriots realizing that for a little bit there, they were being conned into thinking that we are the evil party. But we're not. We're not the evil party. Listen, let me just break it down to you this way. If you are with me, normally is for these few things. You either believe in God, as I do, or you are a person with common sense. You support our military, regardless of where or who they're fighting. You're a patriot. We never, ever, 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 ever root for our enemies. Period. You just don't root ever for our enemies. That's why you're on my channel today. Those who leave, those who flake, that's okay. They don't have the same values that we do. We love this country. We want our borders secured. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen, because you probably haven't been paying attention. See, a lot of people get distracted with the smoke, as they say. Did you know that we're still having sort of a illegal immigrant crisis going on? Do you know why we still have one? The only reason, well, there's plenty of reasons, but one of the major reasons is because the world is watching us fight and fight against each other. And they see the loudmouths, socialist Democrats defending and fighting for illegal immigrants. Not only are they responsible for the illegal immigrants who die being smuggled into our country. If you support illegal immigration, you are guilty for not protecting our border, for not supporting ICE. Let me see if I have. Yeah, I do. I do. This is from yesterday, so you may have seen this already. But this is illegal migrant border crossing spike in Texas. You may have seen this already. But I want to, wait, are you questioning? Do you think that I don't have a white privilege card? Oh, I got my white privilege card right here. Yeah. Bam! White privilege card right here, my friends. Don't forget, stay white. They hate it. They hate it when I say that. They hate it when I say that, but you're going to hear it. Doggone it. Listen, I am not a Republican. Well, I think I will from now on, but I am a policy supporter, okay? I believe President Trump is the first one to have the balls to go against the cartels, against the communists, and against the Islamist regime, which, by the way, thanks to Jason Martin, I am going to share a post. I want you to listen to this. Let me get in here. I'm going to share this post. See if you guys can read this. Now, I mentioned Admiral James Lyon. James Lyon. He was born on September 28th, 1927, and he passed away on December 12, 2018. I get emotional with stuff. I love our military so much. I really do. There is a pride. I know this is a lot of people that don't like the United States, especially Hispanics that are illegal or those who support illegal immigration because they have a certain motive for it. They don't understand. They don't understand why my heart breaks and melts for our military. And the only thing I can tell you is that when you learn history, doggone it, you just can't help it. You can't help it. And I'm telling you, every time that I see our our Marines, you know, whether they're standing there saluting or at ease or whatever, or our Army or the Air Force, you know, with the jets and all these other fighting planes and everything, It never fails. It never fails. I always realize that even if they look like they're smiling and they're having fun doing their job, protecting us, they're sacrificing their lives, constantly fighting their emotions, constantly fighting that void of missing their loved ones. I see soldiers, young soldiers in their 20s, especially when they're brought up the right way, that they melt sobbing when they see their father or their mother, some even their sisters or brothers. They're just so amazing. But I want to share this quote that the Admiral James shared with us on a video. And this is what he says. Now, I'll probably play the video so that you can hear it from him. Let me find it here. And I'll play the video from him, from himself. I think it's this one. Let me see. Here's a clip that I'm going to play of him. Just the voice, okay? Let's take a listen.
Benghazi and Libya, where treason was committed. And here we got the pathological liar, Hillary. What went on there? If you take nothing else away, understand we switched sides on the global war on terror. They knew they were funding Al-Qaeda militias, the Muslim Brotherhood controlled militias, and those rebels in Syria who morphed into ISIS. They provided them training, funding, and weapons. There's no question about it. Now, I can't cover everything in the little time left, but I want to take you, well, let's say one thing. You know, Benghazi never had to happen. Hillary, you know, Gaddafi wanted to go into truce negotiations. He was ready to abdicate. 2 days of negotiations went on. My good friend Chuck Kubik, retired Rear Admiral, was conducting them with African, Carter Ham. They were terminated after 2 days by somebody outside the Pentagon. You can figure out who that was. So what happened? Tens of thousands of people lost their lives. Here's a president who got the Nobel Peace Prize for giving a speech. Yet he couldn't give a few more days for truce negotiations. Now,
Do you see what I mean by emotional? You can see this old man, this veteran who literally sacrificed his life. And the things that he says are heartfelt. How can we ignore that? We can't ignore that. Bet you most of the people that voted for Hillary, they don't give a shit about Benghazi. They don't know anything about Benghazi. Most of the people that voted for Biden, they still don't care about Benghazi. They didn't care that Obama gave them millions of dollars, $1.7 billion access to Iranian regime. The extremist Muslims, they don't care. They don't care. It is crazy. Now, I will find the clip so that I can play it for you. I thought I shared it on my X account, but I didn't. I thought I shared it on my account, but I didn't. I do want to share a couple of things with you, though. I'm going to share one with Ronald Reagan, but it's not about that. Let me see. Can you do me a favor, Jason Martin? Can you do me a favor? Can you send me the link of the second clip that he was talking about Islam? Let me see if I can just send it to myself. Give me a second, guys, because I have written what he said, but I also want to be able to. I want to show you guys. You know what? Actually, you sent it to my messenger, I think, right? Let me see. Yes, you did. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Let me go ahead and share this with you. I want to share this with you. Listen, for those who think that I hate my veterans, my patriots, you don't know me. I love and respect and honor the veterans who sacrificed their life, the ones who sacrificed their family time, those who serve with honors, and even after they retire, continue to respect and honor and fight for the American people. Never once have they supported. Oh my gosh, I need you to stop, lady. Sorry. I'm going to try to, hopefully that talk doesn't happen here, but hold on. I want you to understand that I appreciate every single one of our veterans. But the one thing that I'm going to ask you is this. If you served in the military and if you are a veteran today, you need to stop freaking supporting socialist Democrats right now. You are either with the United States of America or you're either against. Now, I'm going to tell you something. One of the reasons I feel that some veterans or people that have served in the military, they think that they have this bigger voice because of a title in the military. You don't. You don't. The moment you stand against our military and you say that we lost the Iranian war, you're against us. You don't root for the enemy, ever. Well, some of them are. Some veterans are suckers and losers. They really are. We see them on my channel sometimes. They come through here. They talk shit about our military. You were just a veteran. You should be talking good about them. We have good people and bad people in every aspect of life. So I support our veterans, our military who fight for the United States of America, whether their little emotions tell them yes or no, this is good, this is bad. It doesn't matter. You fight and represent the United States of America 100% of the time, or you don't. So when I say my veterans, when I say my military servicemen, I mean real patriots. What have you sacrificed your life for? If in one day you're going to disappear all that, all the accomplishments thrown in the garbage because now you want to go crazy socialist Democrat. Because now you think about, listen, I'm not going to take away the horrors of war. You don't know what I've been through in my life. And I'm sure that, I'm not going to go to war to just show you that I've been there. And no, it is irrelevant. But you have not seen what I've seen in my life. And what I can tell you is this. When I think of my veterans, I mean, Jason Martin was sending me these clips and I just got nostalgic about it. And I'm crying internally. When I look at the soldiers, when I think of the veterans that actually got deployed multiple times, those are the people that make me cry inside. And part of it is like a joyful cry, internal cry, but at the same, it's still a sad, grateful cry. I appreciate their sacrifice. There is nothing Nothing that I will ever say. There's not one word that I will ever say to repay their sacrifice. But I'm not going to sit here and defend you just because you say you're a vet or because you're in the army. I don't give a shit what you are and where you serve if you don't care about the United States of America. You're almost a disgrace to this country. But you know what the great thing about it is? That even though people want to come into our life and tell you, oh, the president called them losers and all that. You know what? What do you call us? Guess what the sergeant, the drill sergeant calls his privates? Guess what the drill sergeant calls all the little soldiers when they're coming into the military? Little girls. Little pussies. Huh? They get insulted. Up the yin-yang. Now, I don't know if they got soft and they changed that, but I can tell you, my football coach used to call us little girls when we didn't hit hard. And you know what? We hit harder. That's the military. That's what makes real warriors. Men and women warriors. With that being said, text Jane, stop laughing at my pain. With that being said, I'm going to share this clip. I'll say this. I'll finish with this. God bless you, man. God bless all my veterans. God bless all of you who have kids in the military. All of you who come into my channel who are young enough to serve in the military and are doing it. I want to say how proud you make us. You honor us. We are nothing without your service. Now, we'll put God aside here because God is above all. But we are nothing without your sacrifice. We are nothing without your loyalty. Remember this. When you went when you were deployed, I don't care how old you are, if you went to Vietnam or whatever, when you were deployed, remember this. You went and represented our nation. You represented the libtards. You represented these ungrateful commies. You represented these dumbass socialist Democrats. And you represented us, the ones who support you, the ones who love you, the one that give you the honor, the respect. You went and fought for all of us. So I will expect you to continue that even after the military. No, I got it, Jason. Don't worry about it. I got it. All right, here we go. Admiral James, a.k.a. Ace Lyons. God bless his family. God bless his whole family. Listen to this.
President Obama has said he wants to fundamentally transform America. Well, what is it? Well, let me tell you. It's un-American. It's anti-Western. But pro-Islam, pro-Iranian, and pro-Muslim Brotherhood. You have to ask yourself, why would an American president embrace the Muslim Brotherhood, whose creed is to destroy us from within with our own miserable hand and replace our Constitution with draconian Sharia law? You got it right. Now, I'm always holding back. Now, you understand we have a serious national security crisis. When you have a president who is not interested in America leading or America winning, then you know the greatest threat to our national security resides at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We have a president who refuses to identify the enemy. Islam is a totalitarian ideology bent on world domination masquerading as a religion. And I got to tell you, I reject the term radical Islam. That implies there's some moderate Islam. There ain't any, and you all know it.
Isn't that crazy? That is crazy. But he's right. He is right. Now, I wrote that in there so that you guys can understand what he's saying, right? Hopefully you guys read it. He is right, 100%. You know, and when Jason Martin shared this link with me, I was sharing it on Facebook, I thought. But, you know, when he shared this with me, you know, I get emotional inside because, you know, here's a 91-year-old man. He would have been 99 years old today. He would have been 99 years old today. He knows what he's talking about. And the thing is, like, this is exactly what I have been saying for many years. Most recently on my podcast here, on this channel. And there's always, you got to remember this. There is a lot more people throughout the world that hate us than they love us. And they go and they try to find these things with their conservative Americans, the ones who believe to take care and protect our country. And they go and they troll. And they go and they lie. They put all this fake news on my X account. The feed is incredible. It is abundant with fake information. Man, if you listen to some of the things that on these hearings, there was a guy, man, I forget. If somebody can help me with this. Jason Martin, you may have seen this video. Remember that lady from Washington State, the Witch of the West, with the purple hair and the long nose and the chin or whatever? There was a representative that was talking about, what was it? About climate change or something. And he was just dropping facts on her. And she just dumbfounded. She didn't read the law. She didn't read the bill. She had her little talking points ready to grill this guy. But she had no idea. She had no idea. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. See? Jason knows. DeLauro. I just say I described her. He knows. I described her and he knows. Let me see if I can find this. I want to try to see if you can find me the link there, and you can send it to my Facebook account. I don't know if there is a history that we can check. I am going to have to mute this person because it keeps interrupting my channel. Connecticut? No, I thought she was from Washington State. Let me check. I thought she was from Washington State because she gets involved over here a lot. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Wicked Witch of the West. That's the one. I guess it is Connecticut. Well, she's been here supporting what's the Indian lady's name here? I don't even know. Jayapal, Representative Jayapal, and she was over here talking with the union. Now you have to understand the unions here, they're just as corrupted as the socialist Democrats. That's just the way it is here in Washington State. It is fantastic, Lord, but you know, it just doesn't feel safe when you walk downtown Seattle, bro. Now, I will say this. I have these plans on going downtown. There's some B-roll that I want to get for you guys for my introductions and all this other stuff. I want you guys to enjoy the good things, you know, from our Seattle area, Everett, or whatever I'm at. Because, you know, I look at it in a way of, you ever been on the plane? If you fly before, I'm sure. If you fly, yes, that's it. Yeah, Pramila Jayapal. You know, when you look down, you see Seattle, you see whatever city you're flying over, right? And what is it that you see? Peace, beauty. There's nobody fighting. There's no war going on. There's no politicians. The economy doesn't matter. You look at the world on a whole different aspect, and you think to yourself, what is the problem? Think of yourself as an explorer, right? What is the problem? You know, and you look down and you're like, this is so gorgeous. What can I do to help? Well, nobody's perfect. We're not God. We can't stop, you know, climate change. That just happens. That just happens. What can we do to make our cities, our states, our countries better? Well, you got to pay attention. James knows. Jayapal is a crook and a liar. How are you, James? Good to see you, brother. But I'm telling you, man, this wicked witch of the West, man, she is crazy. James, do you, by any chance, remember what the name of the... oh, man. You know what? Let me just look it up. I'm asking you guys for too much. Dolores Goods. I hope I can find it. Yeah, this guy. Let me see if this is the one time that he's taken her apart.
The budget proposal reads like a climate change deniers manifesto. When climate change is flooding our streets, poisoning our air, driving up healthcare and disaster costs, how can the EPA justify abandoning that duty to protect Americans to appease polluters under the false flag of economic growth?
Following the law, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, where does it say anything about fighting global climate change?
Oops.
Loper Bright, Supreme Court case. You familiar with it?
No, I maybe others are. I'm not, but let me ask.
But that's really important. As a member of Congress, Loper Bright says that we, as an agency, don't have the authority to get creative. If Section 202 of the Clean Air Act...
No, but you don't have, excuse me, you do not have the right to say climate change does not exist, that it's a hoax, and that's where this administration is coming from.
I understand you're upset that you don't know what Loper Bright is. Do you know what the major policies doctrine is?
I'm upset because...
You know what the major policies doctrine is?
You know what, let me just...
You're a member of Congress. You should know.
Well, you have moved from someone who defended the environment to all of a sudden...
Being very defensive about not knowing the two biggest landmark Supreme Court cases of the last year with regards to your question.
You are very defensive about changing your policy and your positions with regard to the environment. Okay. Now, you just tell
me. Do you want me to tell you what the two biggest Supreme Court cases are of the last few years?
This is what I want you
Michigan
to tell
versus EPA.
Whoa.
West Virginia versus EPA.
You know, you're here because you need money from us. So halt for the second and wait for the questions and answer the questions.
Well, I answered your question,
and
you didn't like my answer because you don't know what Loper Bright is, because you don't know what the major policies doctrine is, because you're asking me about Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and you don't read it. You don't know what it says.
Listen, and what you want to do is to deny.
No, I actually read the law. I do my homework.
Really?
You're just somebody who likes to have the microphone on. You know what I have to do? I read the law. I read the Supreme Court cases.
And I would say
no, what you should do for your constituents is actually read statute.
The budget is at real risk.
Read your Supreme Court.
This is the Appropriations Committee.
Oh,
you care
about science? Now you're threatening to defund it?
Oh my God! No, you don't fund
because
science.
You don't know what Loper Bright is. Because you don't know what the major policies doctrine is. Your message to our folks at the EPA is that you want to defund us.
I don't have to listen to this BS.
BS. You think I made up these cases?
Hey man, you can't fight. You can't fight with the facts, man. You can't fight against the facts. She should have. She should have known to read that. Let me see what's the name of this representative. Lee Zeldin. Okay, Lee Zeldin. Hold on, I got to find something else. Lee Zeldin. Let's see. Budget for clean air. Let me see if this is the one.
Contamination. I represent Massachusetts. You formerly represented New York. It's a problem in both states. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I recall that I was pressing you last year on the budget that would cut funding by $2.5 billion for the clean water and drinking water state revolving loan funds. It's about 90%, which is used by municipal water supplies to remediate PFAS. And I was pressing you on
this is not the one, but let's listen to this one.
That proposed cut, because I don't know how we're going to remediate PFAS with a 90% cut to the principal program that mitigates it. And you responded that we were going to do it through technology. And so I reached out to your staff, and I do want to compliment your staff. They came to my office, your top administrators, and I had them huddle up with the top technologist in the PFAS remediation space. And we talked about it for an hour. It was a good meeting. An administrator, there's no technology to remediate or mitigate PFAS at 10% the cost at the same efficacy. It doesn't exist. Electrochemical oxidation, incineration, it's not there. So again, you're proposing to cut, again, this cycle, 90%. I've now talked to your top staffers. I've talked to the top technologists. The technology isn't there. So how do we get rid of PFAS in municipal water supplies? You agree it's a problem. I agree it's a problem. It affects your state. It affects my state with 90% fewer dollars.
So it's your position that there's no PFAS destruction technologies that merit any conversation here?
There's tons. What I am saying is, at the point of production, yes. For dredge at landfills, yes. I'm talking about municipal water supplies to get to 4 to 8 parts per trillion. I mean, it was your staff and the top technologists. They were in my office. They were talking about this. It isn't there. So if you are a town in New York right now, one of the towns that you championed when you were a congressman for PFAS dollars, what are they going to do with 90% fewer dollars to get rid of PFAS?
Well, first off, as I referenced earlier, what we don't do in our proposed budget is factor in how much you are going to want to raid the SRF for earmarks. That's a decision for you to decide to make. Now, I'm not weighing in on the merits, and I'm going to opine on what you choose to advocate for your district on. But at the same time, the president's FY27 budget proposal is not going to propose your earmarks for you. We're also not going to factor in set-asides.
Your EPA plan for clean water is to hope that members of Congress earmark it?
I'm not hoping that members of Congress are going to raid it. I know that members of Congress are going to raid it, and they've been doing it for a long time. There's a reason why the revolving fund is not revolving, is because there are members who take money out of the revolving fund and they give it as earmarks to members of their district. And by the way, there are a lot of fantastic examples of how members, I'm sure, of this committee have secured these earmarks for their district. The
Administrator, I've gotten about $40 million back from my district.
It's not a revolving fund anymore.
For clean water.
Issue. If you want it to revolve, you can make sure it's properly funded by getting rid of the congressionally directed spending. If Congress chooses not to,
Administrator,
you're going to continue to have this problem.
You're in charge of the EPA budget. You're not in charge of earmarks, and hope is not a strategy. I'm asking you, the technology does not exist. I agree there's promising technology out there. What is your plan to use technology with 90% fewer dollars to remediate PFAS in places like New York that are struggling with the effects on endocrinology and cancer from high contents of PFAS in the water supply?
The way you're asking the question, you're saying that there are a whole bunch of technologies, but you're saying that right now on this date, because you believe that there aren't enough technologies today, that there's nothing you could do about some water system that is going to try to remediate
Name one.
4 years from now.
Name one that can operate at a municipal water scale. We can talk about landfills. We can talk about at point of production.
Where should we start?
Single technology that can operate at municipal water supply for 90%
You want me
fewer
to name
dollars.
companies, or do you want me to name
A
technology?
single technology.
Okay. You have mechanochemical degradation, gasification.
Yeah, not 90%
pyrolysis,
cheaper.
Supercritical water oxidation,
Not
microbial
90% cheaper.
degradation,
Not
thermal
90%
treatment,
cheaper.
landfilling, underground injection.
Administrator, all of these things cost more money. They all cost more money because they're early incipient technologies. None of them are 90% cheaper. There is no plan from the EPA to protect the state that you championed when you were a member of Congress.
You want me to keep going on technologies and companies? They're all, by the way, they're leaning into research and development on top of it. So you have a compliance date that is years from now on PFOA and
How are they
PFOS.
doing that when you got rid of the Office of Research and Development?
Go ahead. And what happened next? We stood up a Office of Applied Science and Environmental Solutions. We added scientists in charge inside of all sorts of program offices across the agency to integrate the research.
You haven't given a single solution to cities and towns in New York
technology
to deal with PFAS.
Clean Earth, Viola in North America.
I yield back, Chairman.
Visits to Clean Harbors or Fort
Gentleman yields
Richardson
back.
or research inside a Research Triangle Park. Do you want
Are you going to control this,
Gentleman yields
Chairman?
back. I appreciate it. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Weber, for his 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
They can't handle him. They can't handle him. There is another clip from him. Let me see if I can find it here for you guys real quick. I think that he's just phenomenal, man. You know, I don't understand why these people fight so much about, having bigger government, spending more money. Listen, if somebody's trying to cut the budget and they're telling you that they're going to do a better job, what's the problem? Let them do it. Why do you? It's like they fight them if they're asked for more money, and they fight them if they don't ask for enough money. Like, make up your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want? Like, you got to be able to do something with that. Let's go ahead and take a listen to AOC, because AOC is a genius. This is a very smart socialist Democrat Puerto Rican American woman, the best bartender you ever see in your life. Let's take a listen to see how she took care of this guy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Secretary Zeldin. This week is a big week in the Supreme Court and Congress regarding considerations of glyphosate. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in the herbicide Roundup, which is produced by Bayer, the multi-billion-dollar foreign chemical company that also owns Monsanto. It's used on hundreds of millions of acres of farmland in the U.S., including corn, wheat, soybeans, and even almonds. And glyphosate is even used to dry out crops before they are harvested. Correct, Administrator Zeldin?
Correct.
Thank you. Glyphosate is also internationally recognized as likely carcinogenic to humans, with particular links to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. In fact, tens of thousands of lawsuits in the United States, many issued by farmers with high exposure, have been filed against Bayer for failing to warn them about the cancer risk of exposure. Now, interestingly, Administrator Zeldin, on February 18th of this year, President Trump released an executive order to increase the production of glyphosate in the United States, correct?
Yes.
And not only did that executive order call to increase the production of glyphosate, it also called for legal immunity for Bayer from the tens of thousands of Americans who are seeking justice in court for their toxic exposure. Now, Secretary Kennedy was here a couple of weeks ago, and when he was asked about glyphosate and the rollbacks against protections against toxic chemicals, he said that we would, quote, have to ask Lee Zeldin about that. So you're here before us today. Administrator Zeldin, have you ever participated in a meeting with Bayer where you discussed the legal or litigation issues that the company was facing?
No, I never did.
Okay, I have
My meeting with them was very brief, and that topic did not come up.
All right, I do. Are you aware of any outreach that they would have in your agency about this?
I could say that I directly had a brief meeting.
Okay.
But it was a brief meet and greet, and that topic did not come up.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to submit EPA visitor logs from July 7th, 2025 to the committee.
Without objection, so ordered.
And you're certain they didn't bring up anything regarding your work?
I'm telling you, 100%, absolutely. I maybe there was some brainstorming that was done beforehand of potential topics.
Are you aware of any?
That topic was not brought up.
Are you aware of anything brought up to any members of your staff or your team? Your senior team?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay, I would like to submit to the record some internal emails from the EPA that I have acquired via a Freedom of Information Act submission.
Without objection, so ordered.
We have documentation here, emails from your senior advisor for Agriculture and Rural Affairs saying that you were meeting with the Bayer CEO last year. He said in these emails that they will be bringing up some legal/judicial issues. More specifically, in this internal email in your EPA, it says that Bayer was specifically seeking to and discussing Supreme Court action. They will want an update on EPA's regulatory review. And that, interestingly, Bayer will provide a small thanks for updating the glyphosate webpage from the EPA and work on MAHA. Do you have any idea what they might have been referring to in this email?
Well, first off, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's possible that the team was doing brainstorming of potential topics.
Okay.
As somebody who actually attended
Thank
the
you.
meeting.
I'm sorry, I just have 40 seconds. I'm not trying to be rude. This glyphosate update that they're referring to seems to be correlated to the EPA agency withdrawing its support for California's cancer warning on glyphosate. Now, this is important because 5 days after the EPO this year, Bayer filed their opening brief to the Supreme Court, citing the Trump's executive order and hinging their case on the EPA's warnings or lack thereof of glyphosate. So we have internal emails from your agency saying that Bayer wanted to thank you and your agency for removing support for California's warning because their case before the Supreme Court right now hinges on you not warning the American people and withdrawing your support on glyphosate. Do you understand the conflict of interest that is before the American people right now, Mr. Secretary?
I
The
understand.
gentlelady's time has
You
expired.
mind if I respond,
Thank you.
Chairman?
The gentleman may respond.
Okay, so right now EPA is completing an assessment due in 2026. And I understand this is a very important topic for many people in this country. This review that the EPA is being conducted, my guidance to dedicated career staffers, and then we have people who've been there for 20, 30 years, is that I don't want to
It's taking a while, Secretary Zeldin, because
let me answer.
the Supreme Court is going to be making decisions this week, and Congress is voting this week on legal immunity.
Okay, but you made your point. Now, I'm asking, do you mind if I answer? This is an important part of this that I'm sure you also care
And I
about.
think the timing
gentleman's time
is
is
also very
expired.
important, Secretary Zeldin.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
Thank you.
Should I
Nice block. Nice block.
complete my answer or no?
Mr. Administrator, you can respond in writing.
Sure, okay.
How do you like that?
Sure, Ms. Pingree?
Hey, you can respond in writing. Yeah. That's just how they do it. That is just how they do it. It's very unfortunate, but I got another one. Don't worry. This is a long hearing. We got plenty of information. Let's see if I am actually on the right segment of the hearing. This is crazy. I think this is the one. Let me take a look. Let's listen.
And sooner the better, because we're getting ready to do our markup. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Administrator, for being here. I wanted to talk about mercury. You know that mercury is a very dangerous pollutant. It leads to...
Yes, this is the one. I am on the right track. Now, I listened to this whole hearing. That's why I'm giving you these clips.
Cognitive challenges for kids their entire lives. The developmental delays that even a trace amount of mercury poisoning can lead to make kids slower to speak, slower to walk. It follows them forever. One of the decisions that the EPA made under your leadership was to repeal higher mercury and air toxic standards. Tell me a little bit about why you did that, and specifically why you left out the health impacts in that analysis.
So you're referring to the 2024 mercury and air toxic standards. We kept in place the strict 2012 mercury and air toxic standards that were working. There was a targeted effort towards the end of the Biden administration through a number of rules to try to tell coal miners that they should learn to code and to try to make coal plants across this country shut down. Steam electric ELG, coal combustion residual, Clean Power Plan 2.0, the 2024 mercury and air toxic standards collectively. There were coal plants all across the entire country that were targeted for extinction because of it, and now they're able to stay open. Coal and natural gas, they provide these power
Maybe
plants.
just to refocus, specifically, why did your analysis of the impacts of this repeal not include the health impacts to the populations that are going to bear this increased mercury pollution?
Oh, we absolutely consider the health impacts of mercury.
There was no quantified health impact in that analysis. Am I mistaken?
We absolutely value the impact. The whole reason why we have mercury and air toxic standards in the first place is because of the health impacts of mercury and air toxic standards. So,
But in the repeal, how much do you think it's actually going to, what are the health harms of this repeal?
it could be zero.
You think doubling the amount of mercury pollution in the air is going to lead to zero health harms?
Where did you get doubling from?
That's the impact of the repeal.
No, where
from
did you get it from? The
from
doubling.
2024 to the 2012 standards. You mentioned that you're going back to the 2012 standards.
Where's your math from? Here we go. I'm not Secretary Kennedy. I watched your hearing with him last week.
It is
I am the one who
70%
did
higher.
make
The
decision.
standards from 2024
Here it comes.
are 70% higher than the standards from 2012.
So it is your position as I sit here today. We're about to do this because you're going to regret it. We're about to do this where your position is that we are doubling the amount of mercury.
That you are allowing 70% higher mercury standards.
Yeah, no. So now
He's about to cook him right now.
I'm allowing 70%. Now I'm saying 70. Now you're saying
Repeal
70%.
the standard that had 70% stricter standards, the 2024 standard, than the 2012 standard.
So the nationwide
Do you not
tons.
understand the math behind this? I mean, I'm
Oh,
confused.
here we go. The nationwide tons of mercury emissions from coal plants, if the MATS 2024 was still in place, from 2028 to 2037 was 33.2. The nationwide tons of mercury emissions from coal plants if mercury and air toxic standards was repealed from 2028 to 2037 is 39.3 at most. That's assuming that no coal plant at all will voluntarily take any action whatsoever to install any control devices. So at most, the math ends up being 15.5 to 18.3%, which is significantly less than double.
The estimates that I've seen are as much as 1,500 additional pounds of mercury in the air.
Rip it up. Have your dog pee on it. It's just not accurate.
Mr. Chair, come on.
Can you quantify the health impacts of the increased mercury pollution that are going to be allowed in the air because of this EPA standard?
You understand that the 2012 mercury and air toxic
I'm talking about
standards,
the repeal of the 2024 standards.
the 2021,
What is the health impacts of these standards? Because they were left out of the EPA
Sure.
report.
2021 mercury emissions from coal-fired EGUs were 90% lower than pre-MATS levels. Since 2010, acid gas, hazardous air
I'm not asking you about since 2010,
have
sir.
been reduced. This is the last time that we have the number.
Okay, I'll give you the answer. I'll give
It does not. It does not exist. So after 2021 is the last year.
In your opening statement, you cited an estimate for how much you think the compliance benefits, how much the savings of this are going to be.
Yes.
And I think
What's your source?
it's quite interesting that
670 million.
your citation of the savings impact, the compliance cost to the coal power plants, is so precise, but the impacts of the harms to the kids that are going to actually bear this mercury pollution seems a little vague. Let me help you out. This decision is going to lead to 1,500 pounds of increased mercury
That's not
in the
accurate.
air. Okay, 1,500 pounds of increase, up to 1,500 pounds of increased mercury in the air. Now, that's going to lead to about $1 million per pound of cost, about $1.5 billion impact on our health system, disproportionately faced by pregnant women and kids who are actually dealing with this mercury poisoning, far outweighing the compliance benefits that you cited.
Yeah, your numbers just aren't accurate.
Tell me your numbers. I asked you your numbers.
I just did.
What are the health impacts of this repeal?
The 2021 mercury and air toxic emissions, the last year that the agency has from coal-fired EGUs, were 90% lower than pre-METS levels. Now, is it? When do you think
they were 90% lower because
2024?
of the 2020
Here it comes.
12 standard?
Okay, the 2024 mercury and air toxic standards. What is your understanding of when that went into effect?
My point.
No,
is
no, no.
that
When do you?
2012
It's the whole. It's important for your question and your math. When did the 2024 mercury and air toxic standards go into effect?
My point.
No, this is really
12
important.
standard was successful.
When did the
Your repeal of
2024 standards go into
standard is going
effect?
to lead more.
Did they go into effect yet?
Look, the point here is the
Are
amount.
you aware that the 2024 mercury and
I'm
air
asking the
toxic
question,
standards didn't even go
Administrator.
into effect yet?
You are being so combative because you don't have the information. Because you're not.
I don't have. I'm asking you a simple question.
I
You don't
asked
even
you
know
a
that it
very
didn't go into
simple
effect
question,
yet.
which is how
You're
many
making up
folks
math.
are
You
going
won't
to
even
be
tell me
harmed.
where you're getting your math from.
I'm telling you.
Okay, you're telling me.
What are
Tell
you
me.
telling?
Where'd you get your math from? 1,500, you say, is the increase. Where'd you get it from?
Up to 1,500 increased
Yeah,
pounds, which are by
where'd you get it from? Where's your source? My source
is my
comes from
source?
career staffers who have been working selflessly inside of the
my
federal
source is the
government
communities
for
that are
20
going to
years.
be impacted by this increased pollution.
Sources
I don't want to
in the
get in a.
community.
I don't want to get into debate here. I just wanted to ask a simple question of who's going to be hurt.
No,
by this
last
repeal.
week you were calling
The answer
Secretary
that I
Kennedy.
heard-
You're saying that he was a coward because
have
he
no
didn't
idea.
know the answer.
Oh, coward.
Whoa,
point is,
whoa is
you have no
right.
idea.
I felt the same way when he was talking to Secretary Kennedy like that. Yeah. So
All right.
you don't know that it didn't go into effect yet.
My
You're
point
making up a
is-
number of 1,500 that's not accurate. I'm asking where your source is. My source is
All right.
coming from career staffers. Yours is coming from some mysterious people in the community.
the folks that are going to be harmed by your decision. I yield back, sir. I'm not
These
interested in getting
mysterious
into debate
people.
here.
Who are these folks? Who is the source? Just say it, man. Just say it. The truth shall set you free. He thought he was talking to Robert Kennedy, who has a problem talking loud back to people. He says, I am telling you. He's asking him, what's the source? I'm telling you. No, you're not. Stop lying. What is the source? What's yours? The actual people that do the numbers? Oh man, this is nice. This is nice, juicy info.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Administrator, the assertion has been made on several times that you're not interested in water or air and how it affects us on daily. I didn't say you said that. I would never say that, Betty. All I'm saying is it has been said. So I'd like to bring up another success. So I'm not in the habit of pointing fingers at anybody about successes or failures unless there's a success. And I want to point out that one of your victories is the higher water quality standards from the Delaware River Basin. And I think it's easy to forget as we're in a tense time in this country of people wondering the direction we're going. Is everybody, what is the goal of every agency? Are they effective? And I wasn't looking for this, but I found it pretty easily. I see that the federal government is raising the required oxygen level in an urban stretch of the Delaware River near Philly to improve conditions for fish and humans. But the move faces pushback from wastewater utilities that will have to pay millions of dollars for infrastructure upgrades to comply with the new rule. I would expect that to have been said during a Democrat administration, but it's not. This article is dated October 7th of 2025. The new standards are a dramatic improvement for the quality of the Delaware River, aquatic life, and the many communities depend on a healthy river, said Maya Van Rossum, leader of the environmental group. We are pleased to see that the EPA allowed their decision to be guided by science. EPA's criteria are more stringent than the previously applicable criteria. The rule also changes the designated use of the urban river to that of protection and propagation of fish populations. The DRBC standard before was just maintenance of those populations. 2 endangered species of sturgeon are among the fish found in the Delaware River. And the only reason I bring that up is because on this very bipartisan subcommittee, we do talk about water a lot. We talk about sturgeon. We talk about in salmon in his district and throughout the region. I just want to point out, and you can address this as you like, but let's bring up the things that Lee Zeldin is doing well at EPA. You had the opportunity to make sure that that was the cost to the utilities, the wastewater utilities, is going to be expensive, and they're mad about it. And you could have killed that rule. Why didn't you?
Yes, I could. So I sat in a room filled with our Office of Water team. There are a lot of amazing men and women who have been at the agency for a long time. They are experienced, they're dedicated. They provided their detailed research and information. They provided a thoughtful recommendation. They made their case as to why this of the options is the one that they were recommending that we proceed with. A new rule that would increase water quality standards across over 30 miles of the Delaware River Basin, going across multiple states. I was aware when this decision was being made that there were some from the industrial side that didn't want us to do it, that it would result in added costs, and I chose to make the final decision at that point to increase water quality standards for many of the reasons that you just laid out.
You did say that you did it, but I'm still asking why, because all evidence suggests to me that you do care about the water and the air. There are cuts being made that affect waste within any organization. You're hiring a number of experts in chemicals to work at EPA to discuss chemicals. So there's got to be a why. You wanted to be the administrator of the EPA, and it's not to destroy. Can you tell me why you care about clean air and water?
Our core mission is protecting human health and the environment. The agenda, first pillar of Powering the Great American Comeback, is a pursuit of clean air, land, and water for all Americans. When the American public went to vote in November of 2024 and elected President Trump and a Republican Congress, they were looking for an agency like EPA to strike the balance of both protecting the environment and growing the economy. That's one of the big differences between us and our predecessors, is that we choose both. We are able to deliver on the 1-year anniversary of President Trump's term in office a list of 500 top environmental wins that we achieved over the course of that first year. It includes, as you pointed out, the 1.6 million pounds of illegal pesticides that were stopped. It includes a new deal to stop and decades-long Tijuana River sewage crisis. It includes a record response to the Los Angeles wildfires, the largest response in agency history. And yes, it also includes increasing water quality standards for over 30 miles of the Delaware River Basin. There's over 500 of these environmental actions in it, include decisions where we are prioritizing our core mission of protecting human health and the environment and delivering on that first pillar of Powering the Great American Comeback. We can both protect the environment and grow the economy. It's not a binary choice.
I think that what you've done in Delaware, what you've done in San Diego, and in other places, that's not just going to help Californians and Americans of all stripes. It's going to help the Mexicans. And you've accomplished something that hasn't been accomplished for decades in 1 year, and I'm grateful. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Ms. Pingree?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask another question related to glyphosate, and I don't usually focus on one topic as much in this committee, but it's been a topic of so much conversation in the case of the Supreme Court today, the use of the Defense Production Act, the amendment we had in this committee, the amendment that's being proposed in the Farm Bill today. It's a very bipartisan concern, so just going to ask you a couple more questions. As we know, it's the active ingredient in Roundup, and it's used by many farmers for drying crops right before harvest. This practice, which is known as pre-harvest desiccation, creates one of the most direct routes for glyphosate to end up in food and in our bodies, and people are increasingly alarmed about glyphosate in bread, glyphosate concentration in people's bodies. I'm interested in your budget proposal to develop a $30 million prize challenge, not a grant, but a prize challenge to spur the development of cost-effective alternatives to pre-harvest desiccation uses of pesticides on crops. You say the challenge will lead to reduced use of pesticides while providing new innovative tools for farmers to use. There are only two sentences about it in our entire 787-page budget, so I've got a few questions about it. You say this was developed to advance the MAHA initiative. So how did this idea come about, and why do you think it's necessary?
So we're in the request for information phase. We want input from people who care about this issue, and there are many. We've heard from
I can't listen to this too long, man. I already listened to this whole thing. I don't want to hear it again. But that was for my brother James Patterson wanting some clown music. I think we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave that clown music on there for when we do need it. Let me go ahead and switch gears here to you, and let's hear a little bit from Emily Campagno from Fox News. And let's take a listen to see what Fox has to tell us today before we go to our Speaker Johnson addressing or delivering remarks on Pro-Life America Gala. If you haven't seen it, you will see it here today.
Schools across the country could see major disruptions tomorrow as teachers are planning coordinated walkouts tied to the May Day protest against President Trump.
Because this is what socialist Democrats believe that is the best in the interest of our children's education.
Trump's policies. Well, in North Carolina and Wisconsin, thousands of teachers have forced multiple school districts to cancel class. Critics say these protests put politics ahead of the classroom, especially as academic performance remains a top concern. And in Chicago, schools will stay open despite a push from the teachers union urging them to close. Instead, the district will have a day of civic action for students to take part in civic activities. Probably not the best move in a district where only about 43% of students can read at grade level, with math proficiency even lower. The largest teachers union in America, the National Education Association, is urging teachers to...
See, Victor Rivera, this is why you have no brains. You don't care about education. We do.
Push for fairness, dignity, and more public investment in people rather than profits. You know, Emily, when I looked at the two reasons cited for the protest, it was immigration and tax. And I thought, okay, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. What's the problem? Immigration. I was thinking of Sheridan Gorman, who was killed close to a college campus, Laken Riley on a run at a college campus. I think there'd be a little nuance in the viewpoints here.
I think people would be hard-pressed to find one teacher or one student that can articulate with specificity a persuasive reason why they are protesting President Trump in those subjects and why. These students, it's one big extension of our A-block conversation. The indoctrination is real. And I posit that the flexibility with which our unions clearly and our school districts view attendance is in large part because of COVID. Because remember, it used to be that everyone saw that truancy and absence from actual studying was a direct correlation between failures in the subjects. Now the truancy is on the part of the institution. Anything goes. The draft, for God's sake, in Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden kids don't have to go to school. So I think that the problem is that the optional aspect of attendance, the meaningful connection with students and teachers, has just been obliterated when everything that we thought was important, which was attendance, low ratios of teachers to students, impact and investment of parents and involvement. I feel like, I don't know, are you agreeing with me or disagreeing with me?
I'm just wondering when performance is going to be relevant and where merit is going to be relevant.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger issue for me is I don't mind a natural discourse of ideas, but there's a time and a place for it. And when we look at these students and some of the test scores that you put up on the screen, the performance is awful and the merit is not right. And so if teachers want to advance their careers and want to make more money, which I think all teachers should make more money, if the performance and the outcome of the students is better, as opposed to the civic discussion, there's a place for it. But walk out.
See, that's my point. You gotta, education is the department that has been getting the most money thrown at it. This is the guinea pig. This is the cash flow piggy for the socialist Democrats. Everybody knows education is important. So let's just throw out the name education and put billions of dollars in there. And let's just steal the money with dumbass ideologies. Let's not concentrate on our children having an education. Let's just teach them to be activists and to confuse them if they're boys or girls. Let's just do the rainbow class because everybody needs to be happy. Man, I'm telling you, if you don't think education is important, I don't know if you will ever be able to get any common sense in your life.
When you talk about teachers making more money, it is ironic that this comes on the heels of a report that $1 billion went to political causes. And you'd think, oh, wow, if that money could have gone to raising teacher pay, maybe it would have made a difference, Arthel.
And that's a good point, because I think what we should look at is the why. Oftentimes, when someone feels that they're not being heard, they take drastic measures. So perhaps this teacher walkout is not anti-President Trump, but yet a cry out to President Trump to dedicate more resources to these students and budgets for the teachers so we can get those reading scores up. Does that make any sense to you?
No.
That's not what they're doing.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it's literally like a protest against the president. I mean, they've said it's run by the teachers unions, not by the teachers. And, you know, here's the problem. There is a big disconnect in schools between teachers who are good people. They are public servants who have a calling and they want to teach and they want to make kids' lives better. But in many of these states, they are beholden. They cannot teach unless they're members of teachers unions, and they have to give part of their salary to these very politicized entities who then donate billions of dollars to mostly Democrat causes and politicians. And that's the frustration. And there are a lot of teachers who understand, like, okay, so if we have the day off, it's International Workers' Day tomorrow. That's a communist holiday. That's what they're doing on May 1st. They are celebrating communism. So what are they going to do? These kids are going to stay home and smoke weed and play video games? Oh, that'll get the test scores up. I'm sure if they wanted to have conversations at school and they wanted to donate a block of time at school so people could talk about, you know, their visions for making society better, that might be a much better place to start. But I think we could even back the train up a little bit. Marcus is absolutely right. Teach people how to read and write. There are kids in AP English classes who cannot read, yet somehow they are in AP level classes and they are illiterate.
So then how do we fix it? That's the point. How do we get those levels up, the proficiency
I think it starts by, and Marcus, you were commenting on kids being in school during the break, keeping kids in school, because as my frustration as White House press secretary was looking at places like Chicago and providing scientific peer-reviewed research that kids should be in school, and then COVID was used for many months thereafter into the Biden administration to keep kids out of school when there was no medical reason to do so.
I said to you that I disagreed with your point. I didn't disagree that there needs to be a cry out from teachers, but I don't think it's at a federal level. If we look at the educational system, it is a local and state issue. And in the state of Illinois and in the city of Chicago, we have a fundamental problem. I'm from there. We have a fundamental problem with the focus on the teachers, with the focus on the training, with the focus on the performance and the merit. And instead, we're dealing with people saying, I want to walk out. I don't know that President Trump is going to be able to solve things universally.
President Trump can't solve everything.
One of the greatest success stories in education is Mississippi. which was at the bottom ranked. We covered this on the show, and it's now high ranked, and they innovative thinking.
Yes.
Like
So then why can't Chicago look at Mississippi as an example? And that's all I'm saying. I'm tired of the bickering.
Because they're beholden.
I'm like, fix the problem.
They're
the problem.
If you
Address
look
the
at
kids'
California,
issues.
Illinois, New York, they are beholden to teachers unions who do so much more obfuscating and making sure that teachers are protected and unfireable.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, Kennedy. I don't believe that these teachers should be protected behind the veil of a union. They should be pro-students, period.
Amen. Pro-students, pro-learning. It makes our country so much better if kids are challenged. And we do return to a meritocracy because, believe it or not, kids are not disposable. They want to learn. They want to be challenged. They want to be better.
Yep. Mississippi is doing something right when even the New York Times was forced to write this big write-up on the successes of Mississippi.
That's right. Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-host Harris Balk.
That's cold. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, Mississippi? Oh, man. We got a live from Fox. I don't think this is live. Tires on cars, Spirit Airlines around more. I think they're live, but with old news. I don't care about that. All right, let's close that. And I think, let's go ahead and play the clip from this. Thanks to the socialist Democrats and all of you illegal immigrant sympathizers, well, since you don't like to listen to us, you never believe us when we tell you that we need to secure the border, keep it secured, and deploy or deport every single illegal immigrant to send a message out to the world, you never listen. So because you never listen, we are going to go ahead and play this clip. And let's take a listen to see what they say.
Smuggling attempts are spiking along our southern border, particularly in the area surrounding Laredo, Texas. DHS and Border Patrol are now increasing manpower around that area, citing a shortage of agents and overall lack of federal law enforcement presence. News Nation senior border correspondent Allie Bradley joins me with the latest. Allie, when you talk about this increase in trafficking and things, that's disturbing information to hear.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Nick. And we are seeing this uptick in illegal crossings in the Laredo sector, and Border Patrol is responding in a big way. They're sending at least 200 agents from both the northern and the southern borders to the sector on a 30-day deployment. Now, our sources tell us that it's a lack of manpower and a substantial increase in that illegal activity, that foot traffic on the ground. The surge is showing up on the ground and in the data. We're talking about 2,600 encounters logged for March and April. That's up more than 50% from the previous 2 months, for some perspective there. And we just got a statement from CBP saying, quote, CBP sent additional personnel to Laredo to continue to secure our border. The sector is bordered entirely by river with no natural barriers to slow illegal crossings, which makes it a target when smuggling routes shift and evolve. Thanks to record low crossings, we have the manpower and flexibility to move agents quickly, concentrate resources, and take enforcement action where it matters most. Now, this sector is inevitably dealing with gotaways, as you just can't walk in anymore. And sources are telling us that across the border, Border Patrol is averaging around 48 gotaways each and every day. Those are people who have been seen on a camera or detected, but never actually caught. The previous Border Patrol chief saying bad actors exploit the holes in the border and could have nefarious intentions. Take a listen.
For any of us that have done this for a living, one is too many. We don't want to see any gotaways because all it takes is one bad actor to cause harm to somebody in our communities or to our country. Lots of concern with not knowing who comes into our country and who they are, what they're bringing, what their purpose is. The gotaways have always been a concern, the primary concern, I would say, for not just the Border Patrol, but DHS writ large.
Now, when agents are finding them, the illegal immigrants are being hidden in shocking ways and in high temperatures. This 13-year-old locked inside a compartment of a semi-truck. Then you have 22 people that were, including 2 unaccompanied minors, that were stuffed inside a sleeper cab of a truck. And then you had 17 illegal immigrants found hiding in a stash house waiting for their next move. Now, our sources do confirm that this detail does include members of their special operations teams, which includes BORTAC. Now, I did just hear from a source, Nick, who tells me that today things are almost eerily quiet. He says the manpower surge and the media coverage might be making an impact here, and he says he hopes it stays quiet like this in Laredo right now, Nick.
Allie, 2 quick questions for you because this is your wheelhouse. I heard you say 48 gotaways on average in the month of April. Allie, that's down significantly from when you were reporting on the border under the previous administration, where there were like hundreds at some point there. And the administration right now, Allie, is also fast-tracking the wall construction. What's the situation?
Yeah, so under the previous administration, they logged about 2 million gotaways during that 4 years. So yeah, substantial decline in gotaways. But as you heard Chief Jason Owen say there, 1 is too many. So they're trying to tamp down on the gotaways because they're looking at about 10,000 for the year. So that's still a substantial number of people that might have nefarious intentions. Now, when we're talking about that border wall, you heard the statement from CBP saying there's quite literally no barrier around the Laredo sector, that they have no physical wall. They have no physical barriers. River is what surrounds it. So you can see right here on your screen, there is a map, a plan to build a wall in this sector, according to our sources, but the city has actually pushed back as it would go through a lot of residential areas, cutting off access and river views as well. So take a look here. CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott actually testified to these numbers, saying they have nearly 50 miles of new construction of primary border wall, about 5.5 miles of buoy barrier, and then they have 13 miles of secondary barrier. So we know those buoy barriers, they were put in under Abbott and in the Eagle Pass area. We have seen them in the Rio Grande Valley. Now they're going to be coming to the Del Rio sector on the federal side of things. So we'll be seeing those buoy barriers in the coming weeks in this area as well, Nick.
Allie Bradley on the border. Allie, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation.
Look who's talking over here. This guy. You got a nerve. You got a nerve. All right, we do have one little, well, the live is not live anymore, but I do have one video to show you. Let me make sure that this is active. There we go. All right. Let's get the Speaker Mike Johnson in the House. This shouldn't be too long. You all listen. I heard this already. So you all listen. I'll be right back.
Y'all got to have a seat because I got to get right back to the House real quick because we're whipping votes right now. I am doing a lot of therapy sessions tonight. Prayer request for you. Really, really grateful. I love this organization. You know that. I try to come every year. At least the last couple of years I've been able to make it. And SBA Pro-Life America is at the heart of what we believe and what we do. And I make the case, I really believe, pound for pound, probably the most effective grassroots organizing organization in the party. I mean, and in our movement, certainly. 30 years now, 3 decades, SBA has been out on the front lines, not only just loving on women, helping them to choose life, but advancing the principle, the sanctity of every human life, helping people understand that. You know, education is a big component of what we do, person to person, and in a broader platform as well. And SBA Pro-Life America, because of its great history, and because of all of you who support it with your time and your resources, we're able to be here in this critical moment that we're in. I have dedicated most of my life to this cause. And I mean, my entire adult life, I've been involved in the movement, been on the front lines with all of you. And that's why it does my heart so good to see so many fellow warriors here together tonight. Before I got elected to Congress, I did 20 years service in constitutional law litigation. I worked for the Alliance Defending Freedom and, oh, sure. And we would go out and, of course, defend religious freedom and the sanctity of every single human life and marriage and the family and the principles that made America the greatest nation in the history of the world. And as a product of an unplanned teen pregnancy, this has always been near and dear to my own heart. I was always very thankful that my parents did not take the advice of everyone that was telling them to take care of that little problem. I wouldn't be standing here today if somebody had not told and taught them. Well, okay, thank you. I'm standing, thank you. If somebody had not conveyed the idea to my young parents that every life is sacred. And so I think often about my generation. I was born in January 1972, a year before Roe, in January 73, as we all know. And I've seen different estimates, and we may have better experts on the numbers in here than me on all this, but somewhere between 1/2 and 1/3 of my entire generation was not allowed to be born. You think about that. I used to think about it. You know, my high school graduating class, maybe it should have been twice as large or 1/3 as large as it was, but they were not allowed to be there. It's a great atrocity. It's something that, haunts us in a way, and it's why we're so motivated to do this work. But we should be more motivated than ever on this extraordinary anniversary of our incredible country, the 250th anniversary of the greatest nation in the history of the world. That's right. The other night, they had the First Lady's luncheon. I think it was last week. All my days run together. And we had all the congressional spouses, all the Republican spouses were in town for this event, and all the wives and some of the husbands too. It was a big thing. And they brought their friends from back home. And so we had one of those late night evening tours that some of you have been on with us. And I don't get to lead a lot of those anymore, but I certainly took this opportunity. We brought everybody on the House floor, 9 o'clock at night or something. And I just spent some time in the chamber talking about all the incredible symbols around the chamber and in the chamber itself that remind us of our deep religious and moral heritage. And I talked to them about this very important opportunity that we have on this anniversary year, and especially by the people in this room who have great platforms and lots of influence. Every single one of us have an obligation to use this year as a teachable moment. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, let's not assume that the people coming behind us know these essential truths. They don't know what the foundations of the country are. Psalm 11:3 reminds us if the foundations are to be destroyed, what would the righteous do? I mean, it's not a rhetorical question for us. We're trying to restore and hold the foundations. But use this opportunity with young people as a teachable moment. And I find it very effective, and I might have shared this with some of you before. I did it with the spouses the other night, but I mean, I just think we should go straight to the nation's birth certificate, the Declaration of Independence, because it's the easiest way to explain these fundamental truths. Take them straight to the second paragraph. I often quote G.K. Chesterton. He was the famous British statesman and philosopher, and he said one time, applause for G.K. Chesterton, all right. Go G.K. Chesterton. I mean, I love him too. But among the brilliant things that he said, he observed this. He said, America is the only nation in the world that was founded upon a creed. It's listed with theological lucidity or clarity in the Declaration of Independence. What is the creed? By the way, what is a creed? Maybe that's where you start with young people. A creed is like a statement of faith. And Jefferson wrote on behalf of a small committee of members, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, a couple others were there, and he wrote, and they came up with the final language. We hold these truths to be self-evident. And then when you're talking with a university student, a high school kid, or anybody, stop them and say, wait a minute, let's think about the language. We hold these truths to be self-evident. What is a self-evident truth? Something that's obvious, they'll ultimately conclude. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Wait a minute, it doesn't just say born equal, it says created equal, okay, right? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among those are the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes, life is listed first. Now listen, here's the thing. There are big implications that come from that. I'm saying this to you so that you can do the same thing. This is what I do. Very simple exercise. Take them through that language and unpack the meaning. If our rights come from our Creator, it means they don't come from government, okay? We're the first country that declared that obvious self-evident truth. And the founders were students of Scripture. Many of them were seminarians, you know. You can't applaud for every historic figure. Okay, I'll never get through this. I do love the enthusiasm, though. My historian friend over here, thank you. Because I can do this all night, quoting founders. All right. But let me tell you a couple things they said and what it means, because if we're going to talk through the next generation about the sanctity of human life and why this matters, use the Declaration, use the birth certificate to explain it. Why? How do you do that? You say, well, listen, if we're made by our Creator, we're made in His image. That's what the founders believe. We're made in the image of God, because that's what Scripture teaches. And if we're made in the image of God, it means every single person has inestimable dignity and value. And your value is not related in any way to the color of your skin or what zip code you live in or what your talents are. Your value is inherent because it's given to you by God Himself. Okay? That's a very serious thing. Now, if we're not correct about this, and if that's not right, well, maybe the Marxists are right. You know, when I'm on the House floor in the chamber, I always point out, "In God We Trust" is, you know, inscribed right there above the Speaker's rostrum. And if you look in the visitor's guide to the House floor, if you turn to about page 21, about 3/4 way down the page, it explains all the historic significance in the building, and it says, Congress voted to put that there in the early 60s, and it says in the guide, it was not drafted by evangelicals. Okay, it says in the guide, or Catholics, it says in the guide, probably, it says, I don't know who wrote it, I just like it. It wasn't G.K. Chesterton, it's more recent than that. What it said. It says that Congress voted to put "In God We Trust" above the rostrum as a rebuke to the Soviets because of their philosophy during the Cold War. Now, what was the Soviets' philosophy? Marxism. And you see, Marxism and its deviations, communism and socialism, begin with the premise that there is no God, and that is the opposite of our founding principle. And Congress wanted it right there in vivid display for everybody to be reminded that important truth, okay? Now, when you're talking to young people, you unpack that. Say, listen, if the founders weren't right, and if Scripture's not correct, and if Karl Marx was correct, it means that you don't have any inherent value. Think of it, because you weren't created by anyone in His image who loves you unconditionally. You're just another social animal. And you know, the thing about social animals is that that's the basis of socialism, really. They have to be controlled and corralled. Why? By the handful of people that gain the power. And that has a pathway right back into tyranny. There are implications to these things. And the reason we are the greatest nation in the history of the world is because we boldly proclaimed these self-evident truths that cannot not be known. It's obvious to us. We entertained the king yesterday, and he did fabulous. I thought it was great. And I got to spend a lot of time with him. Yes, applause for the king. Thank you. He's very dignified all day, all that. But I'm not going to do impressions tonight. I need therapy myself, clearly. It's been a long week. But the king, I genuinely enjoyed visiting with him, and we talked about the common heritage and history we have among our nations, and these foundations that are common to both of our countries. And I had the great distinction to speak to the British Parliament back in January, as was the predecessor of our 250th anniversary. First U.S. speaker to ever get that honor, and I was so humbled to do it. And I talked about the common bond we have together, and we were, and they did a little, sort of like a little mini state dinner in my honor at Parliament. And we were sitting at the table, and I'm looking at, you know, we're in a castle that's like 600 years old, and, you know, and then they put the silverware on the table, and they said, we'd like to point out that silverware is, I shouldn't do the accent. Sorry, it's my head. They said, that silverware is 267 years old, and it's older than your country. And I said, thank you. I know, but my country's better. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. What I wanted to point out is, like, we are doing this grand experiment in self-governance. We don't have a king. We don't have a monarch. We erase the middleman. We're a nation, as Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address, we are dedicated to this proposition that we are one nation under God and a government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. We're doing this as a grand experiment in self-governance. We're different from a monarchy and any other country. We have something special. God has blessed the nation because we did our best to set it up in accordance with his guidelines and his principles, and we cannot deviate from that now. That's why it's so important that this work go on. And on a more practical side, on this moment that we're in, we really do have a truly unprecedented moment in the history of the pro-life cause, because it is not every day that you get unified government. And the voters in 2024, in large measure because SBA Pro-Life America had grassroots activists out there going door to door, we won, okay? And we were able to hold the majority with common sense pro-life legislators who understand these core principles and are dedicated to fight for them. I was in charge of candidate recruitment, and this is our second cycle, and we are looking to the philosophy of people. We are recruiting workhorses and not show ponies, but more than that, we got enough show ponies, okay, around here, but I want people who are not only going to roll up their sleeves and do the work, but who understand the core principles of America, who understand and have the proper philosophy of government, and are willing to go to the line and defend things like the sanctity of every human life, because it is what makes us Americans. It's what makes us Americans. This is the first time, you think of it, the first time since the reversal of Roe that we've had unified Republican government, and we are trying to make the most of that. I know I got some colleagues out here that are in that fight. Despite our razor-thin majority, we have come together to enshrine what is undoubtedly the most pro-life, pro-family legislation in decades. The Working Families Tax Cut was a great display of those policies, the big beautiful bill, you all know. We infused that bill with all sorts of practical things. I mean, policies that are for pro-growth, initiatives for the economy, small business owners. You know, we cut taxes for everybody, no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, you know all the provisions. But also, in the bill, we made it easier to raise a family, we made it easier to choose adoption, and we gave every newborn in America a financial head start. Pretty good pro-family stuff right there. And of course, as you all know, for the first time ever, we got our big initiative done, and we defunded big abortion, and that was a big thing for us. And I brought some stats here, and you all know this better than I do, but in just 1 year, we've seen the real and tangible impact of just that historic provision. And since the start of 2025, at least 50 abortion clinics, probably many more, closed their doors around the country, saving countless lives, that's right. And at the same time, we've had our pregnancy care centers who've continued to grow and expand their reach across the country. And we use the process of reconciliation, the budget reconciliation process, because how many of you know there are not many Democrats left who want to help us with any of this, right? So we had to do it on our own. And the budget reconciliation process is the one exception to the necessity of a 60-vote threshold in the Senate. And so we've been very creative in how we've used that, and we're intending to do that again. But I want to tell you that that's why the election is so important this fall, because we have to continue to maintain pro-life majorities in both the Senate and the House while we have a president who is willing to stand with us in the trenches and get this job done once and for all. And that's why this election is so important. Now, I'll leave you with a couple thoughts real quick. Obviously, I didn't prepare a speech. I didn't have time. I've got a bunch of people sitting in the Speaker's office right now bickering over the table like this. So I call it intense fellowship. That's what I'm going right back to. We'll figure it out. We always do, by God's grace. Prayer and patience, prayer and patience, prayer and patience. So let me just say this. I spent a lot of, so I'm very much like a triage surgeon on an active battlefield right now. That's my job. And so I'm down, a hemorrhage, wound to wound, catastrophe to triage to triage. And the challenge there is that when you're mired in that work every moment of every day, you don't have enough time to step up and sort of like assess the battlefield ahead, because that's a big part of this. You should be able to process that, think strategically, and I don't have enough time to do that. So I have people around who help with that as well. Marjorie and the pro-life leaders assist us with that. Newt Gingrich helps a lot. He has a lot more time to strategize than I do, and he's still one of the great minds in the movement, right? Yes. You clap for G.K. Chesterton. How about Newt Gingrich? Okay. The reason I cite Newt is because he has a way of crystallizing things very clearly, and I want to share with you what he and I were talking about. He said, Mike, obviously, we have to defy history to win the majority this time around. Only twice in the last 90 years has a sitting president picked up seats for his party in that first 2-year cycle. Very practical challenge we have right now. Reason for that, I told the president last night. Again, I said, sir, you were asking that why that is. The answer is simple. Angry people vote and satisfied people do not. And so typically the party that loses the presidential that next 2 years, they come out in force and they go, the president's party loses seats in the House. But this one's different. And Newt said, we can defy history. And he said, I know you're mired in the daily management, but think of the true historic significance of this one. This is not a contract with America year. We did that in 2024. We made a lot of promises. Promises made, promises kept. We got a great record to run on. He said, Mike, this isn't a contract with America year. This is a contrast for America year. And you think about it that way. He said, it really, to boil it down, it's a contrast between common sense and crazy, okay? Because it really is, right? And we've recruited candidates who are very articulate, and they can go out with passion and authenticity and talk about how, hey, do you want to keep the team in charge that secured that border and got dangerous criminal illegals out of your community and got men out of women's sports and made sure that we're not having trans surgeries on minors and that stand for the sanctity of life? Go down the list, right? Or do you want to return the team in charge who would do exactly the opposite? We're on the right side of every 90-10 issue in American polling and politics. We're on the right side of every 80-20 issue. We're trying to exhibit and demonstrate and show common sense. It's return to common sense. That's the common theme here. But the other side increasingly represents crazy. And I try to use every ounce of Christian charity that I can, but that's where we are, my friends, okay? They are into all the wrong stuff, and they're getting further and further left. And the best way to explain it among friends here, what's happening, the trend in politics nationally, if you're not following it, there are many Mamdanis who are popping up in congressional districts all around the country. Okay, really. People are running as Marxists. They're not trying to hide it. And so there's a stark contrast between common sense governing conservatives that we put on the field and the insurgent left. And the problem that we have in the country is that in the party, particularly the Democrat Party, is that the energy, the excitement, the grassroots movement, and the funding is on the side of the far, far left. And they have no intention whatsoever of upholding America's principles or regarding the sanctity of life. I mean, these people this is not our father's Democrat Party. I'm just sharing that among friends to let you know the stakes could not be any higher, and I know you all recognize that. We're going to need a lot of prayer, a lot of hard work, and we're going to need good people in the trenches to make sure that we can hold the line on this thing and not have the disaster that it would be if we lost the Republican majority in the House. Not only would they impeach the president on the first day of the Congress in January, but they would turn every committee of Congress into an investigative body to go after his family and the cabinet and, probably pro-life leaders. I mean, all of you are subject to be attacked, and I'm defending you by winning the majority, okay? Yes. Applause for ourselves, sort of. Listen, when we wield the Republican majority, we can also go after fraud, waste, and abuse. And I wanted to mention this, if it has been mentioned yet tonight. We just got to the tip of the iceberg on the fraud, waste, and abuse, okay? And our Senate colleagues who are being rightfully applauded tonight, they uncovered new evidence of $90 million in hidden loans being funneled to Planned Parenthood under Joe Biden. Did you hear about that? Just another reminder that elections have consequences. Look, looking ahead, we need your support more than ever before. If I'd had more time, I would have prepared a more erudite speech for the suitable crowd. But I just wanted to share from my heart and tell you that SBA made its biggest ground investment in House races in the history of the organization for this upcoming election, and we are so grateful for that. So grateful. And I love so much that SBA is laser focused on equipping the next generation that comes behind us, because I believe we're called to do that. Young people are living through turbulent times, but SBA is changing that for the better. And this year, during their fall and spring break, SBA student canvassers knocked on a combined 70,000 doors just on the breaks from school. That's awesome. And a couple of these students, they handed me a list of the students who are here tonight. If they haven't been introduced yet, there's Kayla and Samuel and Herrera and Shreyas and Alfonso. examples of young leaders, the next generation that will come behind us and be handed that baton to stand for that. Thank you for your time. Yes. Listen, I want to encourage everybody tonight to keep the faith. I mean, we've made some great strides. We have a lot more yet to do. We are all in this together. You know, to him whom many gifts are given, much is expected, and all of us have been given a lot of gifts. And the fact that we're on the right side of the issue and that we understand it gives us a responsibility to share that with others. I mean, we are, in effect, evangelists, not just for the ultimate truth with a capital T, but for the beauty and the essence of America, the foundational principles that make us who we are. And if they are eroded, then there is no guarantee that we keep this. And I think often about Ronald Reagan's admonition, freedom's not inherited in the bloodstream. It's got to be fought for, it's got to be protected, it's got to be taught and passed along to the next generation so that they too will have the same liberty, opportunity, and security that we have known and frankly too often have taken for granted. Let us not be found taking any of this for granted. Let us be found faithful. I'll leave you with the solace that I go to sleep with every night. On the 2 hours that I'm scheduled to sleep, I sleep very well. Because I remember, and some of you have heard me say this before, but it bears repeating, what John Quincy Adams said. They called him the hellhound of slavery. You remember it? He was president and then ran for Congress. Nobody's ever done that since or before. Why would you? But President John Quincy Adams went after that to serve in Congress. Why? They called him the hellhound of slavery. Why? Because he had a deep conviction from God that that was wrong. The country, sadly, was not yet ready to move on from slavery, so he kept bringing the resolution over and over and over to end slavery because he believed in the sanctity of every human life and that all of us have dignity and value. I haven't had a lot of sleep. I'm getting choked up on John Quincy Adams, but because I know where he was sitting on the floor in Statuary Hall. If you go through Statuary Hall, he's got a little plate there on the floor. I know where he was sitting when this event happened, and he was bringing the resolution for, I think it was the 13th time, and famously, a younger member of Congress walked up and they said, "Mr. President, why are you doing it? It's going to fail again. Why? What is the point?" And he said, "Young man, duty is ours, results are God's." And yes. We don't know how it all ends. We know how it ultimately ends, but we don't know what tomorrow brings. But God calls us to be faithful. And I'm so grateful for the friends in this room tonight and for this incredible organization that is faithful every day. We do our part. We're going to do our duty. And we're going to let God do the rest. And so far, for 250 years, He has done that for us. I am convinced that God is not done with America yet. And that's why this is worth fighting for. Thank you for all you do. Thanks for the time tonight. God bless you. Thank you.
You know what I heard is that House Speaker Mike Johnson actually donates a lot of his money to help veterans. Now, I read this story about maybe 6 months ago. For some reason, if you try to search that now it says that it's not true, which I find very interesting, that we can't find the same information anymore. But you know what? With that being said, I want to say thank you guys for being here with me. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for becoming members. I will come back later today, hopefully, and we will share the live that we missed today from President Trump, where he's going to be addressing an event that he had with actual seniors. So if you have enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. If you watch my videos, don't forget to hype the videos so that we can beat this algorithm. Thank you guys so much for all your support, for all your love. I thank every single one of you members for being part of my family. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I got to go pick up the wifey. I will see you guys later, and then we're going to have a good time, especially after I get something to eat, because I am starving. This fat guy's got to eat. You know what I'm saying? But I'll see you guys in the next one. You all be blessed. Peace.